Friday. You look so good, Friday. Ben and Woods, 97.3. The Fans, get our heads right on a Friday. Feeling great this morning and summoning 4 more hours before Paulie and I hit the road out to Arizona and fantasy camp. Very excited to be hitting the road today. Man, it's just always such a fun time of year. The weather's supposed to be fantastic, unlike, 98% of the country that we live in is frozen solid. So thinking about all our tier ones in other places, got a guy in the chat this morning, I think Tevin, is in South Dakota. It's -2, and it feels like -24.
Ugh.
So those days are gone for me, man. They are just gone. There's just no way I can do it again. I've lived through a lot of that. Never again, my friends. I'm Woodsy. That is Paul Reindl. Now, I'm a Texas transplant. Paulie is a Washington transplant, okay? And Paulie Reindl is our executive producer.
We're not all as skilled as Ben Higgins.
To be born and raised here. Yes, it takes a very special skill for your parents to make love and then your mother to carry you for 9.5, 10 months, and then, you pop out and then you stay here in paradise. It's a very interesting and worthwhile skill to have, to be born somewhere.
I married a local.
As did I.
So are we
No.
sexually transmitted locals now?
No. I've learned over the years.
It's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Do you guys remember, Ben Higgins is here as well. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning.
Do you remember the scene in the movie Casino where the dumbass guy lets the slots hit and he gets fired, like the local, and then that guy comes in, County Commissioner Pat Webb comes in to sit down with Robert De Niro's character, and he says, you think you run this place and you don't, and we're going to run you out of town. There is that vibe here sometimes. You still get it. I've been here 14 years February. I still have that feeling of like, hey, man, I love this place. I want to embrace this place. Right. I have embraced this place. It's one thing, I think.
Like, I drive around the city and I'm still like in shock and
every day. I'm still like,
years.
oh God, this is the greatest. I spent some time yesterday down on the 101, Ben, and I'm walking around just going, son of a bitch, I love this place, right? And the allure hasn't worn off. But you still see those, you hear those things that, you're a transplant, you'll never understand what it means to be a San Diegan. That's fine, man. Listen, I can totally understand because there have been guys that have come into town, right, from other markets. It's not like Paulie gets on the air and he's like, hell yeah, Seahawks and Mariners and Huskies. And like, the dude doesn't care. He's left it behind, as have I. I miss my parents and I miss breakfast tacos. And that's it. And now the breakfast tacos have been, they make them here now. They make them here now. So I'm good. I just miss my parents.
This is the time. I mean, it's always a great time to live in San Diego and California. But this, to me, is the best time of the year because you look at the national weather maps and the giant cold snap that has like descended across the entire country. And there's like this little corner where it doesn't totally hit. Yeah. And it's just where we are.
Right here.
And yeah, it was a little chilly this morning when I got up.
You have shorts and flip-flops on.
I still have shorts on. I still have flip-flops on. And you look at a place like Kansas City where they're going to host a playoff game tomorrow night. The wind chill is expected to be 14 below zero. That's 55 degrees colder than it was when I got up this morning here in San Diego. That's the difference between summer, 95 degrees, and what it is now, but they're getting colder the other direction. That is how cold the rest of the country is at this moment. And we get to enjoy golf weather. I got to play golf yesterday with our friend Matt Scraby from the Gwynn and Chris show. It's still the best place to live in the world.
It's just not even close. And I'm pretty sure on February 1st, it will be my that's the day I started on the air. I'd been here a few days before. It'll be 14 years here. That's the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I was such a nomad. My parents kind of knew, like, oh, he's going to this school and that school. He moved here, moved to Vegas for 6 months. Like, he's never going to put down roots. And from the second I arrived, I will never forget being picked up from the airport, driving through downtown Encinitas, the big Encinitas sign, and I went, that's it. This is it. That's all I want. I lose this job tomorrow, doesn't matter. I love this place. I love it with everything I've got. My mom, and it puts me in a weird, like...
Bro, I locked in my tuition at San Diego State. So this August will be 15 years for me. Right there with you. And I grew up in Seattle for 18 years. I'm a couple years away from being here as long as I was there. I committed to San Diego State and gave my tuition before I had ever been to San Diego.
Of course.
I just knew.
You knew.
That was my spot.
My mom makes me feel weird. Like, she texts me all the time. She's like, oh, we love you. We miss you so much. I hate that you live so far away. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I mean, I hate that you live so far away. This is where I live.
In Texas.
This is like, yeah, this is...
Have you been to San Diego?
I was so, like, the Christmas bit this year of, like, why don't you guys come out here? And I'm like, there's always a chance that it gets iced over. There's no problem here. You guys come. This is paradise. And I don't want to, like, put all the responsibility on them, but it's also like, this isn't Sheboygan, Michigan. Like, this is San Diego. Bring your ass out, bring the grandkids, and let's do this thing. Let's play some golf. Let's hang out. Let's have some fish tacos. Let's do all the things we love to do. It's just my roundabout way of saying this is the best place on the planet to live. The best place to live. So, yeah, and I mean,
And now you're leaving it.
I'm leaving it for Arizona. But that's where fantasy camp is.
You're
now,
excited, though. I can tell.
I am so excited.
I can tell. When you I walked in, and I could tell there was an energy about Woods, and I couldn't remember what it was. But it's red in Shawshank Redemption at the end. You're excited. You can barely sit still or hold a thought in your head.
Yeah.
It's the excitement only a free man can feel at the start of a long journey.
Oh, yeah.
Whose conclusion is uncertain.
We were planning our long journey, our 5.5 hour long journey through the desert. When you walked in the door, we're like, "Oh, Benny, what's the name of that taco shop in Yuma?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are very excited to get going today, aren't you?
Yeah, and we were loading up the car this morning, and I went, God, it takes a lot of stuff to get out there for this camp. I mean, it takes a lot, but the stories should be great. We've got some stories. We've got some ideas of things that we're going to do when we're out there. It's just always a fun trip being able to go out and play ball, man. Just playing ball out there, being out on the fields, taking grounders and stuff. There's just nothing like it. So very happy to be here today. I will say I do have a bit of last day of school feeling in me. Like Paulie texted yesterday. He said, AJ Cassavell's coming on at 9. I said, cool. Let's replay it at 9:30 and leave a little early. We just play them back to back. Hey, in case you missed it, here's AJ Cassavell again. I was also driving around going, how mad would our listeners be if we just replayed the entire Mike Shildt interview at 9:30 with Craig and Annie, and then we got the hell out of here? It would be weird playing that interview going right into their show.
If you're dying to get out of here, I'm not going anywhere. So
but you can't run the board.
I can drag Annie and Elston in, and
I can't do anything. I gotta wait for.
That's a good point. Someone's got to steer the ship until
exactly
10
right.
o'clock at least, so we can get
That
through
would
this
be a
entire
fun
program.
Experiment.
Ben
one
runs
day.
the board.
Just throw Ben in this chair and just see what happens.
Just see what happens. Alex says tacos M Ranchito for Yuma, rolled tacos for me. Good options out there. We go to Mr. G's. That's a Ben Higgins recommendation. And the last time we went, we absolutely loved it. Bean and cheese burrito, pretty basic. Knock your socks off, though.
It's like $3. It's really basic,
really,
but it's
really
really good. And it's where I always stop when I drive on my way.
Paulie and I also talking about maybe potentially hitting the Nike outlet today for a few minutes as well. We have nothing. We have nowhere to be, and we have all day to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those fun days that we get to hang out. I wish you were coming with us today, Benny. But you'll be out there Monday, so that'll be a lot of fun to be driving out solo. First time Benny's going to be at fantasy camp. It's going to be a blast.
I think you guys are going to have a great time.
We will, and so are you.
My question is, are you going to perform, though? Because it ends up, in the end, you want to play well, and you'll talk about your regrets for weeks if you don't feel like you stepped up.
I'm still mad about last year.
Exactly.
We did everything we could. We didn't lose. We didn't win one game last year,
right.
But we did everything we could.
I blame the managers.
Yeah, Mud and Loretta. I mean, Mud's checked out half the time anyway.
Yeah,
the guy was late to the field one day.
Looking up Blues Brothers videos on his iPhone.
To show everybody on the bench.
It all comes down to the draft, though.
Well, it does, but, you also don't put a 75-year-old guy at first base. You just don't.
Where do you put him?
On the bench, especially late in the game. everybody know your role, right? Know your role, know your limitations. Paulie slings the ball. It goes
clutch innings.
It was huge innings. It was the last out of the game. Paulie fields it, slings a bullet over, and the guy's like, and moved out of the way. And I looked over at Mud, and Mud's like, hey, relax. It's his fantasy camp, too. And I was like, put somebody there that can catch, you bald bastard. And we got into it. I had to go apologize to him after. I said, I'm sorry, man. I get a little competitive. No, I love that competitive fire. Knowing he was in the coach's room going, this guy's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's probably hopped up on something. He's out of his mind. But I don't know that I've ever been that mad on a baseball field. When I saw Paulie let it go, I went, yes, finally, a dub. Moved out of the way, I went.
I mean, I threw a dart.
Seed. He probably threw a seed at him.
His chest.
He didn't even see it. Put him in right field.
So the difference between you going 1-5 or 0-6 on the line here?
No, it was like it was the first game, maybe.
That would have
okay.
It would have put us in the third place game.
Yeah, C20 Moreno mad at fantasy camp. Yes, I'm mad. I was mad, bro. I like to win. I love to win. I don't like to lose. I do not like to go out to fantasy camp to lug all your S out there. And you don't win one game is the most mortifying.
It's funny. You care more about who wins at fantasy camp than like the Padres care about their own minor leaguers winning and losing.
You're absolutely right.
It's not about winning and losing.
You are absolutely
I think
right.
Ben should care more than anybody that we win a couple of games, because if we don't,
that's true.
If we once again go 0-5 or whatever throughout the week and end up in the early 5th place game on Friday morning.
You play at like 8 a.m. You're solo.
8 a.m. Arizona time, 7 a.m. Pacific. That means we're going to be on the air for about, 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
And then Ben's going to have to fly solo for 3 hours.
All right, you're right. I'm your biggest fan now. Just win at least 1 or 2 games so you can get out of the last place game and the early time slot on Friday morning.
Paulie goes, bro, I don't know about you, but I'm playing every game like it's my last. I go, you've never seen intensity like you're going to see out there this week. And if you're on my team, you better bring it. All right? I'm tired of this, man. Tired of it. But it's such a great time, and we will have fun. We'll have some great bits, I'm sure. Just try not to pull a hammy or anything while we're out there. But yeah, we do. We have AJ Cassavell coming up today at 9:00. We won't replay it at 9:30 as much as I want to. Want to talk to him about the goings-on of the Padres. Maybe he's heard some things. But yeah, there's some minor moves in baseball yesterday. Couple of signings that are interesting. But yeah, it still remains fairly slow. Dodgers made a trade yesterday that had a few people scratching their heads, but I think it makes sense once you look into it.
Yeah, those are some of the things we'll talk about. We'll set our menu for a Friday coming up next. Glad to have you with us, Woodsy and Paul. Maybe a foot out the door, but they promised to stay until 10 a.m. Let's check traffic, and then off we go on a Friday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Don't know why we're getting shots from your better half.
Don't you? That's all she does.
Hannah in the chat says, so the menu bit going to stick around, I guess.
Listen, she is my arbiter of this show. I run many, many things by her for her rubber stamp. And I had not run the menu.
Well,
it's just something we just kind of...
and I thought it was a good idea to let everybody know, in a segment, a short segment here usually at 6:20.
Yeah, very
Everything
short.
that's coming up on the show today, get to some of the, early headlines that you might have missed from late last night or early this morning, such as the New England Patriots hiring Gerard Mayo as their new head coach. They've already replaced Bill Belichick less than 24 hours later. Did not take long, so you can kind of get some of the meat out really quickly early in the show and then tell everybody what is coming up. I will acknowledge, maybe menu isn't great. Menu implies you have a choice out there, like we hand you a menu and here's what you can pick from. We don't really give you the option as to what or when we're going to talk about things on this program. You just have to.
It's true.
It's more of a prefix sort of show.
Yeah, the prefix.
The courses will come out as we,
and you eat
the
them.
chefs decide.
Or you don't.
And then you can eat them or you can not eat them.
And you will like
It's
them.
It's not really a menu in the sense that, it's not the Cheesecake Factory. All right, what would you like us to talk about? Oh, really? In the NHL? Okay.
Okay, here we go.
We're here to serve.
Have I told you guys about Cutter Cloutier yet?
So in that sense, yes, it's not a menu. It's more of us telling you what's coming up today on the program.
Jared says bring back the Daily Ditty. We booted the Daily Ditty because we didn't think anybody cared about the Daily Ditty anymore. You know me. I'm such a pushover.
If two people
One
ask
person
for it,
has
we'll
asked
do
for it. But
Yeah, if two people ask me, I'm like, guys, we blew it.
I
We
was
blew it.
okay with going away because I've run out of songs that I know of, and
That's true.
I had nothing left to pick.
We can do Woodsy's Daily Ditty, but that's not fun for anybody. Because I never run out of. I guys want you to hear
Plus,
this.
we can't even play it for the YouTube streamers.
Correct.
We don't get to hear it because of music licensing restrictions on the internet.
Correct.
So you only get to hear that if you're
strike.
on the air, and it just felt like we'd done it for a couple of years, and it was time to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Maybe the menu won't last forever.
Exactly.
It's a placeholder, a bit of a segment right here.
So
but
what are the
We did it
specials
for
today?
3 years. There's 730 songs on there. If you want to go and listen to the Daily Ditty playlist.
the Spotify list still exists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look it up on Spotify. It's just Ben and Woods Daily Ditty.
Kurt says, yeah, Ben will continue to pick the Pet Shop Boys.
Over and over again.
West End Girls.
A little bit of Padres news we'll get to. They agreed to terms on all 4 of their arbitration-eligible players. We can talk about, you knew they were going to because AJ always gets it settled before a hearing. He has never gone to an arbitration hearing
Batting
with a
1,000.
single one of his players now in 10 off seasons. Every single time. And that is not the case with a lot of teams. I didn't even realize this. A lot of teams are file and trial. There's even a phrase for it. Oh, yeah, they're a file and trial team. And either you take what they offer you or they take you to the arbitration hearing, to the court.
Okay.
And they don't never say yes to what a player asks for. You simply agree to their terms or they go fight it out in that arbitration hearing in February.
Their last arbitration hearing, Ben, was Andrew Kashner in 2014, and that even predates A.J. Preller. Again, he's batting 1,000, so they got the one-year agreements with Michael King, Eniel De Los Santos, Adrian Morejon, and Kyle Higashioka.
Yeah, and you can argue whether is it a good thing or not a good thing. Obviously, the Padres have spent over 10 years, and I'm sure they've had to cave a little bit to make sure they got it done every single time. There probably were some stubborn agents who go, we're not coming down much from this offer. If you want to, come close, we can play ball. There's probably been several $1 million over the 10 years that they've spent extra to make sure they don't go to those arbitration hearings.
Players and agents know that about AJ.
It's $200,000 at a time, $400,000 here. Over 10 years. I wonder how much they think it's actually added up to, and if it's worth it.
I don't think there's any question that it is, Ben. If you just look at this year's numbers, right? Michael King is going to make $3.1 million. That's a bargain for a pitcher of his caliber, Ben. Higgy.
Now, we don't know what the numbers, because they never get to the point where it's changed, but let's say King and his agent were asking for 3.2, and the Padres were hoping it was going to be 2.8, and they settled at 3.1 more on the player side to make sure it got done.
But you can also compare.
That's $300,000 difference.
But
right
you
there.
can also compare. Victor Caratini is making $6 million as a backup catcher. Kyle Higashioka is making $2 million as a backup catcher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not. Obviously, different players are going to get different amounts. In terms of, though, could they have saved some money over the years by going to arbitration hearings and fighting it out, like the Milwaukee Brewers did with Josh Hader?
Like they do almost with every player. They're doing it
They
again
do save some money that way, but the cost is more of a hit to your organizational reputation, an emotional one sometimes with players. Obviously, Josh Hader reportedly did not take it very well with the Brewers, kind of poisoned the his relationship with the organization.
Corbin Burns did not take it well when they did it last year. Look, I think there's guys you go to ARB with and there's guys you don't. And Josh Hader and Corbin Burns are not two guys that I'm going to call in and go, so you were late to your bullpen that one time, which is what they do. They dig and they really. I mean, if Adam did that stuff to us, I would be like, forget it. I don't want to work here. I'll take less money to go work somewhere else.
Whereas I'm someone maybe he could go to arbitration with and would take it less personally than you.
Yeah,
maybe.
probably.
But the Padres don't go with anyone.
No.
They don't look and go, this guy could be okay with it. Let's just go to arbitration. They never do.
I like it.
And they never have under A.J. Preller, so they got all the deals done yesterday. Speaking of the Padres, Mike Shildt made his first appearance with Annie and Elston yesterday, and we'll have some of that audio coming up for you in our next segment. Good interview. The parts that I did hear sounded like they did a very nice job chatting with the new Padres skipper. We will have our Take on Woods competition coming up in our 7 o'clock segment. As always, chance to qualify. No one has beat Woods yet in our musical trivia challenge. Don't do this. At 7:35 this morning, we will make some NFL picks. It is playoff time, and it feels like a fun thing to do, to go on the record before the games are played, to give our opinions, just like everybody is around the country right now.
Super original bit.
Making those playoff selections. Not the most original, but always a fun way to discuss the 6 games that are coming up this weekend, all here on 97.3 The Fan.
Here's an opportunity for you. Eric in the chat says, what does arbitration mean?
Oh, I get to Ben-splain.
Ben-splain.
Thank you.
All right, Eric.
So for players who have not yet reached free agency, the 6 years of team control, but have more than either 2 or 3 years, depending on how much service time they've acquired, your salary in the first 3 years is usually just dictated by the team, and they give you the minimum or maybe a little bit more if you're like a second or third year guy. But once you get to that arbitration period, and there's usually 3 years of arbitration, you get to exchange salary figures, and you and your agent come up with a number. And based on, your performance and how well you've done, the team comes up with a number, which is obviously lower because they're looking to save money. And if you don't agree on a 1-year deal, they still have your rights because you're not a free agent yet. But they go to a hearing, and it's usually in an office somewhere, either in Florida or Arizona, depending on where your spring training is. And your agent and you will sit down, and the team will send a representative, and they will argue in front of a judge, essentially, an arbitrator, who will look at the facts and go, okay, yeah, you made a really good case. You were really productive. You did all the things the team well. We're going to give you the player's figure. Yep. Or the team will go, yeah, all right. I mean, he wasn't, he was good, but he wasn't that good. We're going to go with the team's figure. And the arbitrator can't decide anything else. The arbitrator can't go, really, somewhere in the middle would be good. No, it's either one or the other. Those are the only 2 options for the arbitrator, and that sets their salary, an automatic 1-year deal for the following season in arbitration. And it gets higher, obviously. Every year you go to arbitration, there's certain minimum increases that they have to get to. But like Juan Soto got $31 million. He didn't go to arbitration, but he got $31 million, an arbitration-eligible player record yesterday from the Yankees. Had they gone, he might have asked for 32.5. The Yankees might have countered with like 29, and they could have argued and nitpicked about Juan Soto in a courtroom. But they don't want to do that, so they just sign the player and get it done.
Yep.
So that's how arbitration works. Second half of the show, as you mentioned, we've got A.J. Cassavell.
It gets gnarly in arbitration.
Yeah, it gets really bad.
Those stories like, hey, you did walk that one guy to end that one game in relief, so we're actually going to dock you for that.
I've heard it actually gets even like more personal. Stuff like that. Like, hey, man, your head was in the clouds, blah, blah, blah. You did this, you did that.
I would hate that.
That thing, that thing with your buddy that showed up and he was hammered, and they just dig. They do anything they can to make you look worth less than you are. And that sucks, man. I can't even imagine having to. It's a little bit like that with radio negotiation sometimes, but not to the personal level, that's for sure.
So there is definitely a value to not going to arbitration because you don't have to do any of those arguments or cases. And
good vibes, right?
Yeah, good vibes going forward. So that's what's on the prefix menu today for the Ben and Woods program to wrap up the week on a Friday. We'll come back. Let's hear some of that Annie and Elston interview with Mike Shildt, some of the cuts from the skipper yesterday. He's had a very busy first off season as Padres manager, to be sure. Get you caught up there. Coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, birthday shout out right now. Happy Friday to you. Our very beloved Tier 1 and junior, well, he's a junior PD, I feel, as well. Gives me a lot of advice on the radio business. Our pal Corey Stewart turns, I don't know.
21.
What would your guess be?
Ooh, Corey Stewart. So I worked
50.
with Corey 25 plus years ago at the old 690.
Yeah.
And he was producing the morning show.
Yeah.
So he's not just the Tier 1. When he gives you radio advice,
Well, he knows the business. That's
he
why I
knows
listen
the
to him.
business. Yeah.
50.
I would say Corey is. Wow, could he be 50? He could be.
His innards are 79.
I would say 47.
Okay.
I'm going to say he's younger than me.
All right.
And you. Just by a hair.
I'll go 48.
All right. Well, there's not a lot. Listen, I mean, I'm excited about baseball season. I always am. But opening day, Corey Stewart tailgate is one for he could sell tickets, and he makes that rum punch, and it makes you really hungover the next day. That is something I learned on opening day.
Anything Corey hands you makes you hungover
That's
the
true.
next day.
Yeah,
that's
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. One of our
Tim says his liver is older.
His liver is older. One of our beloved. Happy birthday, pal. We love you.
Happy birthday, Corey. All right, we're going to check traffic. When we come back, hear a little bit from Mike Shildt and his conversation yesterday with Annie and Elston in our middays next here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by San Diego Imperial Valley High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. The time is now sd.org. Well, some relief for you on South 163 in the Hillcrest area. Looks like they are reopening lanes between Washington Street and Robinson. They had things shut down for a bit, all due to a wrong-way driver that touched off this accident around 3:15. So traffic was being diverted off University. Might still see some flares, some activity there, but at least there's a light at the end of that tunnel. South 163 lanes reopening in the Hillcrest area. Elsewhere around the county, looking pretty good. Southbound side of the 15 near Scripps Poway Parkway, we have reports of a stalled vehicle over to the right shoulder. Did you know fentanyl is being sold on social media disguised to look like prescription medications? If it doesn't come from a doctor or pharmacist, then it likely contains fentanyl. Talk to your kids today before it's too late. Get the conversation started at thetimeisnow.sd.org. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So we had Mike Shildt on right after he was introduced as Padres manager for our first conversation. I believe he was already back in Charlotte at the time, wasn't he? Yeah, he
was getting on a plane that morning. He joined us super early, at like 6:15.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he's been doing that all off season, flying either Charlotte to San Diego, back home to Charlotte, which if you read the piece in the UT about Mike Shildt, he has deep ties to the Charlotte area where he started doing his coaching, high school, college level, and then eventually got a job as a scout in the Cardinals organization, which led him into coaching in the minor leagues in the Cardinals, rose up through the ranks to become their manager. Then, of course, now coming over to the Padres and becoming the manager of the Padres. But hasn't just been back and forth. He's also been making trips to different parts of the country, different parts of the world to meet with some of the Padres players, like Fernando Tatis Jr. during this offseason.
How did he get that all approved through corporate?
Apparently, they're not quite as stingy with the travel funds
Dang,
as
man.
Odyssey is with Mike Shildt.
Good
And
Lord.
Annie and Elston, when Mike Shildt appeared on the show yesterday, asked him about his busy off-season player visits.
Yeah, Annie. Listen, just great to connect with the players. I think it's really important to make sure. I mean, good news is, established relationship already with these guys, but clearly in a different role, and just being able to connect with them, get their thoughts, feelings, to spend some quality time with them. Away from the ballpark's important, and to establish those relationships. So, great guys, really good times together, and really good conversations, and some of it was even about baseball.
I hope you got some sun in there too. You know what I'm saying?
I mixed a little bit in there, yeah.
So there's been the suggestion. So Mike Shildt is what, the fourth full-time manager AJ Preller has hired?
Full-time, yeah.
Yeah, if you go with Andy Green, who, of course, was the first-time skipper that AJ pulled out of fair obscurity to become
Circuit City,
the manager.
Right.
And then Jace Tingler, who, as we've later learned, wasn't really the first choice, but had a relationship with AJ from the Texas Rangers. That didn't work out. And then there was Bob Melvin, who I don't want to say it was forced on AJ, but let's just be honest. There was a directive from Peter Seidler and above that they wanted a more experienced voice.
Sure.
And when Bob Melvin, and I think it was AJ's idea, like, I think we can get Bob Melvin. Yeah. Everyone thought it was a good idea at the time, but they didn't click and they didn't mesh. So there's a thought that Mike Shildt may be the most compatible skipper AJ has ever had in his tenure as a Padre. In terms of, that intensity, that drive, that relentlessness that AJ tends to show, Mike Shildt kind of echoes that as well.
Yeah, honestly, when the Melvin deal came through, I thought, okay, this is good for the next. I thought minimum 5 years. And I know he signed a 3-year deal, but I thought he ain't going anywhere. This is the guy that we're going to, is going to skipper us to hopefully some great heights. This is not a knock on Mike Shildt at all. And he will be the first to tell you, and I believe he even says it in the Kevin Acee piece, he is an organizational man. And he came from an organization in the St. Louis Cardinals that's what they have, that's what they want. The fact that, earlier in the week in the Reindl Report, we actually had to mention that they went out and hired Chaim Bloom from the Red Sox. He was let go, but hire him because they needed an outside voice tells you everything you need to know about the Cardinals. They promote from within. They mold these guys. They model these guys. They groom these guys to be skippers at the next level. So Mike Shildt is an organizational man. I think, honestly, that's what A.J. Preller was looking for. And I think he's going to march to the beat of a collective drum.
And Mike Shildt, it sounds like he's more than okay with that.
Sure.
And they asked him about working with A.J. Preller now.
Well, I think, listen, there's several things. I think the primary connection, just the absolute love of the game of baseball. AJ's a baseball guy through and through and heart for it, grew up with it. Clearly different paths to get to where we are. But, in conversation with him, he's talking about it, how he just, how he grew up, how he, studied the game, how he loved the game, how he followed the game, and just, a story that led him to where he's at. It's really driven through passion and love of the game of baseball, and something we just clearly have a mutual interest in.
Yeah, it feels as though they're not going to agree on everything. And sometimes when you have two guys with similar kind of philosophies, that can actually hurt you because...
Does any tandem in sports agree on everything, though?
No, but I think they almost can understand where at least they're coming from. And I don't know that everyone... I know that Bob Melvin understood where AJ was coming from, and I don't know that AJ understood exactly where Bob Melvin was coming from over the last couple of years. Got into spring training, and Shildt has prepared for many spring trainings, either as manager or in his other roles within the Cardinals organization. Have no doubts that he is on top of what's going to be going on in Peoria next month. A little bit about what's his preparations for spring training coming up.
Yeah, Andy, I've said this quite a bit internally. I'm wanting to go really fast, slowly, because I want to go deep. And what I mean by that is, we've got some ground to cover. We've got a great, exciting new some staff members that are back, some that are new, some are coming through the organization. Just got through spending 3 days in Arizona with that group, and man, what a special group of guys that are going to do a fantastic job. But getting back to the concept of going fast, slowly, I just want to make sure we create that identity of who we are, what we represent, create processes that are, sustainable, clear, simple, actionable, partner with our players, and all these things are, they sound great, but they are, and they're not easy to execute. It does take some time. It does take some intentionality. It was one of the things that was really important to me in talking to players, and will continue to be, is how we're going to do this together. And again, my mission is us having a tremendous 2024, and I'm excited, optimistic about it. But, really, my vision for this is making sure that the San Diego Padres organization is in a good place to compete, to have sustained success over the next, 3, 5, 8, 10 years. I do have that perspective and understand what that takes and it looks like, and have those experiences, and want to be able to bring those with me, and then partner with the experiences and the people we have to, again, make it more how the Padres operate, because that's just how it needs to be, and I'm excited about it, and we're gaining ground.
I don't know what they're going to
Yo,
call
Mike,
it.
I just mentally pinned.
About that. It's Craig. Didn't mean to step on you there. I
Not
don't
the
know what
first
they're
time,
going
right?
to call it, but Mike Shildt clearly wants to establish a Padre way.
Sure.
Like there was a Cardinals way, and he worked in the Orioles, and if you read the piece in the UT with worshipped Cal Ripken and the Oriole way back when they were successful as well. He knows so much what he wants, Woods. He's put it on a T-shirt before they wrote it.
I like it. I got it
Four
right
things.
here.
You got them?
Yep. Winning baseball. And it's together. It's defense makes routine plays, pitchers throw strikes, and the offense executes. It seems pretty basic.
It seems really almost overly basic
Sure.
for the modern game, and I wonder is that enough nowadays to be successful? But
His quote was, those four things are still what I'm going to preach. When you show up and evaluate if teams are together and they're not beating themselves defensively, which we did last year sometimes, pitchers are throwing the ball over the plate, not beating themselves, and batters have good, productive, smart at-bats. At the end of the day, you shake a lot of hands. And this is the quote that jumped out to me as well. And then beyond that, it's really ultimately about, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve the staff. I'm here to serve the players and the organization. That hasn't changed. My heart is for the players. They're the reason I'm here, the reason I have a job, and the reason I do this. I love this. So far, so good for Mike Shildt. Now, he's not managed a game for the San Diego Padres yet, but as it stands right now, his slate is clean. He's got an A+ going into the season. We'll see how it all shakes out after 162. But, so far he's doing the right things, and he's saying the right things. What else can you ask for at this point? Not much.
I just want to push back because you said something about the Padres beating themselves defensively last year.
There were plenty of times.
Weren't they one of the top defensive teams in baseball last year?
They were, but man, the routine grounder to short was booted several times. I mean, yes, they had some stellar defensive plays, but there were some games where you're like, that's just sloppy.
I mean, they didn't commit many errors. They were near the bottom in errors. They were near the top in other defensive metrics.
We talked about sloppy baseball from the San Diego Padres last year a lot. They did get sloppy.
I thought they were sloppy offensively.
Oh no, I thought defensively
but I didn't
too.
think defensively they were a sloppy team. I think Mike Shildt starting from a pretty good place defensively with this team.
I think so too. But like you said, that has to be, the routine plays have to be made all the time. And I don't think they were last year. I really don't. I thought some spectacular plays were made. Some defensive runs were saved, absolutely. But I can recall several instances of really sloppy baseball. Guys being late to the bag on
I recall base running
Oh, yeah.
blunders.
Me too.
I recall plenty of lack of offensive execution, and I feel like that's got to be a huge focus in spring training.
No doubt.
But I don't have this memory that you do of defensive
Sloppy.
mistakes last
I
year.
remember the base
Sloppy.
running for sure.
Yeah.
Sloppy.
I don't remember them being
I felt they were
more
pretty
sloppy
crisp
than any other team
defensively.
over 162
At least,
games.
I mean, every team makes a few mistakes over the course of the year, but
I'm thinking
I feel like comparatively, the Padres defensively were sharp last year. Sharp-ish.
But again, like you can manipulate numbers to say, oh no, I mean, we didn't make a lot of errors last year. They didn't give a lot of errors last year. Do you remember that? They did not give many errors last year.
But that's true across baseball. And
Sure.
the Padres still ended up with some of the fewest, the bottom third in the league in
this is
total
the
errors.
team that I watch, though. This is the team
I know,
that I watch.
and I watch them too, and I just have a different recollection. I'm curious whether Tier 1s agree with you or me.
I think
now, together, I didn't get a sense of together a lot.
No.
And offensive execution, didn't get a sense of that a lot. Pitchers throw strikes, to me, maybe a little bit. I mean, it's always good to not walk a bunch of guys, although Blake Snell had a Cy Young year when he walked a bunch of guys last year. And, pitchers need to miss bats and pitchers need to avoid hard contact as well. I don't think just throwing strikes gets it done necessarily in the modern game. Yeah, it's great if you're a high school coach or a college coach. Throwing strikes is absolutely essential. If you're a little league coach, you're going to win almost every game if you got pitchers who throw strikes.
No doubt.
But in the big league level, I don't know if that's one of my tenets, is all I'm saying.
Pound the zone, man. Pound the zone.
And Mike Shildt knows way more than I do. But I think together and offense executes are two absolute musts this spring training for the Padres to be working on.
Yeah. Pound the zone is standard. That's just a standard standard trope in baseball. Don't give guys. But if you have Blake Snell stuff, you can walk guys.
And then just wrapping up this segment and some Shildt audio. Annie and Elston asked him about Manny Machado, how he's doing in his rehab from the elbow surgery had during the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, Tomlin's still good news is he's doing great. I mean, he's doing fantastic. He's winning the off season like sounds like a lot of our players are. He's, as you would expect, working hard. He's in a great place. I'm really happy with the fact that he's, gotten some of this behind him, and clearly he's got still a road ahead with the physical therapy and the recovery. But he's doing great. All reports are positive. Starting to swing the bat off the tee, soft toss flips. So that part's good. Starting to play catch. Everything's moving in a very positive direction. Dare I say ahead of schedule, but we'll continue to take inventory of what that looks like leading into spring training. But he's optimistic. Most importantly, medical team's optimistic, and that leads me to have optimism that he's going to be ready. We just don't want to rush it, but he's in a good spot and doing baseball activities, which is clearly good.
So far, the injury news has seemed pretty decent this offseason. So, yeah, Manny Machado, no reason to, rush him along. I mean, you can be patient here. It's still January. Saw Joe Musgrove throwing off a mound.
He's back in that backyard.
His lab.
But we have a lab now.
Yeah, but his lab is the backyard.
He also, doesn't he own a lab?
He might.
He does. He opened a lab. He did, remember? Down off of... where do we do our live remotes? By Alesmith. What's that street? Miramar. He opened his own lab, and that dude's back in that backyard on that mound slinging it.
A baseball lab or a coffee lab?
No, he opened like a real baseball lab for kids and people to train.
Like,
yeah,
he did. You're right.
Gym. I don't know that it's
a lab. It's like mounds and everything.
I thought it was just a gym.
If I owned my own lab, I would never
it's all
leave.
Kettlebells just hanging precariously from threads.
No, it's got mounds and stuff in there too, from my understanding.
But and I think the most important thing, I mean, Manny coming back is key, and it's good that he's going. Yu Darvish and Joe, though, their health is paramount this year right now for the Padres. They both ended the year at injured and not pitching. They both need to come back with the pitching depth that the Padres are lacking. They need those two guys to both step up and be who they are for the 2024 season. And if, either of those guys have setbacks, misses chunks of time, that lack of depth will become painfully apparent in the Padres pitching staff the starting rotation.
No question about it.
All right, we have a few more bites. We can get to them later in the program. But
Good job, Elston and Annie.
Let's come back.
Elston.
There were a couple of moves yesterday in Major League Baseball. Marcus Stroman had a trade with the Cubs and the Dodgers. We will talk about those. Also play some Take on Woods, try to qualify another Tier 1 for a trip to Las Vegas. Coming up next, Ben Woods on a Friday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Is there a slight possibility that the free agent market in baseball is cooling down and coming back toward more team-friendly numbers? Welcome back.
Based on
Marcus Stroman's deal yesterday and the news that surrounded it involving Blake Snell. So yesterday, the New York Yankees agreed on a 2-year, $37 million contract with free agent pitcher Marcus Stroman, who wasn't the premier free agent out there, but he was in that kind of tier 1B of pitchers who were available, right? Tier 1B,
tier 2 maybe.
Was that,
maybe a tier 2?
18.5.
He got it's 18.5 per year. Now he could have opted in for 21 with one more year with the Cubs. But opted out to take 18.5. Now he's getting another year guaranteed. There's an option of some sort that's involved. So I'm not saying Marcus Stroman made a bad decision to opt out with the Cubs, but he certainly didn't break the bank compared to what he was already scheduled to make. And first guy I can say this offseason that my jaw didn't go, he got what? I mean, this isn't Sean Manaea getting, what did Sean Manaea get?
28.
28 for 2.
28 for 2.
Yeah. Marcus Stroman at 37 for 2 seems like a much better deal than Sean Manaea for 28 for 2 years.
Marcus Stroman's a hell of a lot better than Sean Manaea than just $4.5 million.
I agree with that. So is it a sign that the market's coming down? The other report that went along with that.
But Stroman, reading this right here, had a 2.96 ERA in the first half, fourth best mark in the NL. Made only 6 starts in the second half. But again, we haven't seen any pitchers really dinged for bad performance or subpar performance or a slow second half. Lucas Giolito had a horrendous slow second half, and he got paid, So who knows?
Manaea maybe was rewarded for a stronger second half, even though his numbers were much worse than Stroman. So that all factors in. But part of this story is that the Yankees reportedly, and the facts behind this could be sketchy because you're talking about what agents and teams are saying, but reportedly offered Blake Snell $30 million a year for 5 years, so $150 million.
That's the rumor, at least.
That's the rumor, at least, and that was not enough for Scott Boras and Blake Snell. They were looking for more dollars, at least one more year, a 6-year deal. They declined that, and when Blake Snell declined the Yankees, they pivoted to Marcus Stroman, made that deal. Now, presumably, the Yankees are moving on from Blake Snell, and they're no longer a suitor of Blake Snell. Now, you can always change your mind and go back and revisit it, but is Blake Snell overplaying his hand? Is his market softer than Scott Boras may have anticipated in the offseason?
Hard to say. Don't know if that rumor is true. It's hard to imagine turning down 30 a year, even if it's 5 years. Blake is 31 years old. It's hard to imagine turning down that much money. But if you think that the Giants will come calling, right, and they desperately need to add pieces, if you think there's a sliver of a tiny fingernail's chance of hope that the San Diego Padres will figure out a way to bring you back, maybe you don't want to pitch in New York in that bandbox. Maybe you have no desire to pitch for the Yankees and do things their way. So it could be true, could be false, Ben, but I don't know that his market is soft, and I still think he's going to get a really hefty contract. Is it going to be more than 30 per, though? Don't know.
Quick aside on that question, because I don't see the Padres coming to the table with anything like that. The UT estimated the current Padres payroll for 2024 at $145.9 million. There is room in there to sign some players. Now, I think they need to sign multiple players, which means you can't put it all together in one. But if you were going to pay someone 30 right now, Blake or Bellinger?
Bellinger.
Bigger need for the Padres right now.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think so.
I agree.
Higher. It's hard to say higher ceiling, but you have.
They're both very good when they're very good.
I like the everyday aspect of Cody Bellinger playing center field.
They're both capable of being
100%.
very good, but you just don't know which player's going to show up.
Exactly right. A healthy Cody Bellinger and a healthy Blake Snell, they're horses, man. I mean, Blake Blake, I don't think did he miss a start last year? I mean,
Right at the beginning of the year, maybe one, but
he threw the most innings of anybody on
he
our squad.
Definitely was. I mean, he was
Won a
Cy
Cy
Young.
Young. Yeah, he won a Cy Young.
You can't really complain much about Blake Snell last year.
It's going to be. Is he the premier free agent? Him and Cody, probably the two premier free agents left.
Yeah, I think so.
It would not surprise me if the Giants and Farhan are just waiting it out to see what they could get Blake Snell for. It's comfortable with Bob Melvin, knows Bob Melvin. Probably San Francisco's a pretty decent place to pitch. Got a pretty good rotation right now as it stands. They need star power there, so wouldn't surprise me if he ends up there. Cubs now seem to be very active and making moves, Ben, as well. So
yeah, they made a trade yesterday. We'll get into that. Let me get the phone numbers out for a Take on Woods contestant. Tier 1's call in to Take on Woods. Chance to win a trip to Las Vegas. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. We're about 3 minutes away from our game coming up here. Yeah, the Cubs and Dodgers made a trade yesterday, and I can't really totally explain the rationale. The Cubs acquired Michael Busch and Yency Almonte from the Dodgers for a couple of toolsy prospects. Jackson Ferris.
Bush.
And Zaire Hope are the two guys that the Dodgers are getting.
I was sweating when I saw, because originally when they announced who the Dodgers were sending to the Cubs, my heart jumped. And I'm like, are they going to get Morel? There's no way the Cubs are going to trade Christopher Morel. There's no chance. Or like a Justin Steele or something. There's just no way. But it ended up just being basically a prospect swap, clearing a couple spots on the 40-man. They're going to get the Dodgers.
The Cubs are getting the more major league ready guys, though, for sure.
Both of those guys will make the roster, I would imagine, out of spring training. And the Dodgers clear two 40-man spots.
Yeah, they must have a crunch in terms of they know these guys are blocked and they've got other moves in the hopper that they just need to clear some space, I guess, and go with some younger, controllable guys that'll be in the minor league system for a couple of years. So it seems like if you're a Cubs fan, this is probably a pretty good deal for your team, at least for 2024.
Yeah.
That you get something for very little cost at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically a prospect swap. Yency Almonte is he's been in the league for 6 years. So, it's a good move for both teams. I think. I thought the Dodgers were going out and getting an everyday position player for these guys, and it did make my heart leap a little bit.
And yes, I was in fact delighted, as everyone pointed out, that the Dodgers now have both Jackson Ferris and Walker Buehler.
Oh, Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller. I mean, if I'm the social media team, I'm already planning. All right, we've got a day off. Let's get these two guys together, walking around a city, and we'll do Ferris Bueller's day off.
It's great.
Somewhere on a social media channel.
It went right over my head. I did not make that connection at all.
I saw it a few times. I did not come up. Thank you. Stupid. I did not come up with that one myself, but I was truly delighted by the people who pointed that out yesterday, that the Dodgers now have Ferris and Bueller on their team. All right, let's go to it. It is time to play Take on Woods. All right, let's see. Paulie says Jackson is our contestant. I don't know. Jackson, have you played Take on Woods before? Welcome.
First-time player, long-time listener.
Love it. I love when Tier 1s take a shot. All right, good luck to you, Jackson. I'll explain how the game works for everyone out there. You'll get 5 questions of musical trivia. See as many as you can get, and then Woods comes back, the same 5 questions. If you beat or tie him, you will qualify for our grand prize drawing 2 nights at the Westgate Las Vegas and tickets to Tom Kiefer and L.A. Guns coming together to perform live on April 11th at the Westgate International Theater. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. By the way, Take on Woods is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com.
Look at that. 2 days in a row.
Yeah, that bold and highlighted strategy has paid off for Paulie Reindl. All right, Jackson, you get to pick our category today. Your choices are the returning categories of Head of the Class, 5 song titles, including the word head, Open and Shut Up. Those are song titles that include either the word open or the phrase shut up. And our new category, ands, ifs, butts. And those are song titles that begin with one of those three words. So, head of the class, open and shut up are ands, ifs, buts. Jackson, what would you like to play?
Let's go and, if, and but.
All right, the new category. Remember when Mom would say no ands, ifs, or buts? You got to clean your room. Well, today it's all ands, ifs, and buts because I have 5 song titles. They all start with one of those 3 words. You'll have 60 seconds, Jackson. If you don't know an answer, you can say pass. We'll come back to it if there's time left on the clock. First question, of course, is our 2-second song. Paulie will play a short clip. You need to give me that title, starting with and, if, or but, and the band name to score that point, and we'll go from there. Jackson, are you ready?
Let's ride.
All right, 60 seconds on
Let's
the clock.
ride.
Your category, ands, ifs, buts. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Jackson. Let's take on Woods.
And she was, talking head.
Correct. Sheryl Crow asks, then why the hell are you so sad? In the response to the title of which 1996 hit?
Pass.
Kurt Cobain recorded a cover of which Beatles song that includes the line, bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky?
Pass.
Chicago sings, you'll take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, baby, please don't go, after the title line of which 1976 classic?
1930. Pass.
What is the name of the title track and album released by the Foo Fighters last June, their first album since the death of Taylor Hawkins?
Pass.
Sheryl Crow asks, then why the hell are you so sad? In the response to the title of which 1996 hit?
Pass.
Kurt Cobain recorded a cover of which Beatles song that includes the line, bright are the stars that shine.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's just the one. You got off to a good start on the 2-second song, and that's okay, Jackson. We've definitely seen worse performances. And she was, Talking Heads. Sheryl Crow is If It Makes You Happy. Kurt Cobain, Beatles is And I Love Her. Chicago is If You Leave Me Now, You'll Take Away the Biggest Part of Me. And the new Foo Fighters album's called But Here We Are, and the title track. I don't know. We'll see how Woods does. He doesn't get the category. All right, we got a new contestant today. Jackson, Tier 1, taking his shot. Woods, in the dark, 60 seconds. Time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Jackson.
And she was Talking Heads.
Correct. Sheryl Crow asks, then why the hell are you so sad? In response to the title of which 1996 hit?
If It Makes You Happy.
Correct. Kurt Cobain recorded a cover of which Beatles song that includes the line, bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky?
Oh, God, I should know this one. Pass.
Chicago sings, you'll take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, baby, please don't go, after the title line of which 1976 classic?
If You Leave Me Now?
Correct. What is the name of the title track and album released by the Foo Fighters last June, their first album since the death of Taylor Hawkins?
Crap. Pass.
Sheryl Crow asks...
No, I got that one right.
Kurt Cobain recorded a cover of which Beatles song that includes the line, bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky.
How do I miss the Nirvana and the Foo Fighters question?
Who are you?
Who am I?
But you got Chicago and Talking Heads.
What was the category?
So is ands, ifs, buts.
Ands, ifs,
So
buts.
and she was, If It Makes You Happy, And I Love Her.
And I Love Her.
The Kurt Cobain Beatles.
I didn't know he covered that.
You got If You Leave Me Now, and But Here We Are is the name of
Did
the
I win?
Foo Fighters. You did 3-1. Okay. You did win. It was a tough category.
Very tough.
But Jackson, thank you for playing. Woods remains, though.
I like with the
Unbeaten.
the first timers.
Unbeaten.
I'm just glad Ben gave me this.
Ooh, baby, please don't go.
Oh, yeah. And I just want the ooh.
Ooh.
Yep, perfect.
Record it without the ticking music behind it. Here we go.
All right, hang on. Give me a second. All right, go ahead.
Ooh.
Dance in My Brain is already in Arizona. You are not wrong. You are not wrong. Great job,
I sound
Paulie.
just like Peter Cetera. Ooh.
I love that song.
It's a good song.
I like Chicago.
I do too.
I like Chicago.
Thank you. Things Woods likes. We may take 27 years to compile.
We could do Things Woods hates in about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we could have a whole
a trough of it.
Just at the end of mine, it was just like, I like Chicago.
I like Chicago.
That's about it. You do. There's many things. You like the band. You like the city.
It's my second favorite city in the country, for sure.
All right, Don't Do This is coming up next. There was a. Are we going to do the scam? There was an ESPN scam that was revealed yesterday.
I am interested in talking about the Emmy scam.
It looks worse than it maybe
I have
is.
I have a bit of a different take on it, but clearly it's a don't do this.
Okay, I want to hear you explain this away.
It clearly is a don't do this. Why is ESPN scamming the Emmys out of awards? It's not a good headline, that's for sure. We'll get to that coming up after a check of traffic. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Got good news for you guys. I know you're hitting the road after the show, but you're taking your time getting there. You may pull into Arizona just in time for kickoff with Boomer and Valenti. Fridays at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. And if you're too far away from us, you can always listen free on the Odyssey app.
We probably will. We had other plans tonight, but I know what we're doing now. I'm going to keep this one quick here because I want to hear Ben explain why it's okay to steal Emmys. So I'm dying to hear that.
TV Man
explains
why
it's
okay to steal Emmys.
TV Man who has never won an Emmy, actually.
All right,
explains
so
why.
Just a quick update on Toronto Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic. The fine did come down for his epic rant the other night.
That's outrageous. What happened tonight, this is completely BS. This is shame. Shame for the referees, shame for the league to allow this. 23 free throws for them, and we get 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. Like, how to play the game. I understand respect for all stars and all that, but we have star players on our team as well. How's possible that Scotty Barnes, who is all-star caliber player in this league, he goes every single time to the rim with force and trying to get to the rim without flopping and not trying to get foul calls. He gets 2 free throws for the whole game. How's that possible? How are you gonna explain that to me? If that's the case, just let us know so we don't show up for the game. Just give them a win. But that was not fair tonight, and this is not happening first time for us. Scotty Barnes is going to be all-star. He's going to be the face of this league. And what's happening over here during whole season, I've been holding it back. It's a complete crap.
25 large is what they dropped on Darko Rajakovic.
I wonder what Darko thinks of that.
Well, I thought it.
What does
it's
Darko
a complete crap.
Really? Because Darko, I thought you got off. I thought you got off a little bit
He
light.
was smart. He contained all of his rant into one long run-on sentence, which makes it just one
punishment.
Like, he could have just said, I thought the ref sucked tonight, and then gone on. Probably still $25,000.
$25K.
But you make it a long 2-minute rant, it's still $25,000.
It's a complete crap.
Now, why is it okay to steal Emmys?
I'm not
Ben?
saying it's okay.
Why are you justifying being able to steal
It's a
Emmys?
don't do this for sure. ESPN, the headline in The Athletic is ESPN used fake names to secure Emmys for college game day stars. That sounds really bad. I mean,
I saw that. I go, what in the hell?
I mean, that sounds really, really bad. And it's not great, but it's
okay.
not quite as awful as you think. Let me compare it to the Oscars. So when they give out the Best Picture Oscar at the end of the night, the last award, who comes up and gets that Oscar?
Director.
The director, the producer.
The director wins Best Director.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the producer.
An actor wins Best Actor. It's some producer, some guy you've never heard of, gets the Oscar for Best Picture. Well, College Game Day has won a number of Emmys for being like the best show on sports television, essentially. I mean, what they do, everything they do to put it all together, go to the colleges each week on short notice, set it all up, the spectacular.
It's a fantastic show.
It's a great show.
It's worthy of any Emmy they win.
And they've won several of these Emmys. And part of the show, obviously, is they have great hosts who have done a terrific job over the years, like Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard, who do a great job up there, keeping it lively at, 6 a.m. when they're sitting out in cold weather during the fall at college football season. But when the show won an Emmy, not everyone is supposed to get an Emmy. The hosts actually don't get one if it's the whole show. Some of the producers and people who put the show together get that Emmy. So ESPN added to the list of producers who were supposed to get the Emmy and made up some fake names, and then when they got the trophies, reinscribed them so they could give them to the host to give them some credit for being on an Emmy-winning show.
And the hosts didn't know that
the hosts actually didn't know that they weren't supposed to be getting Emmys. They thought, oh, my show won an Emmy and they got me a trophy. Really cool. Thank you. That's awesome. I'm going to put it in my office, and we won an Emmy for college. This is our Emmy for College Game Day. The show actually did win an Emmy.
They
and
won
the
an
hosts
Emmy.
did do a great job.
Right.
But just technically.
And when the show wins an Emmy, it's up to the company or whatever to decide how many Emmys they'll be buying.
Like how many producers worked on that show that you then buy the statue, by the way, from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. They're like $160 each.
Well, now I know why you don't have one.
Right.
Because you probably earned
But
one.
I'm also the talent. Yeah, I don't know. They've changed the rules. I think even in recent years, the talent is now eligible for shows like this. So if they want it like this year,
years ago.
They could get an Emmy now, but when they submitted the fake names of the producers so they could get extra statues to give to the hosts.
But there's not like a hardworking real person on Jeopardy or something that got screwed
They didn't
over.
like steal it away from a different show or a different off-the-air person to give it to the host. They just
it was like a symbolic gesture.
It was,
but
it
they
really,
had to.
It really was.
They had to skirt some rules.
But they did break the rules so
it
they
would
could give those Emmys to the hosts of the show.
It would seem fairly easy. A phone call. Hey, I want to give Kirk and Lee and Desmond.
And the answer would have been no. They don't get one. They're not eligible. That's why they put the fake names in instead, because they knew if they told the truth.
John Smith as a producer, and then erased his name
and put in Kirk Herbstreit and handed him an Emmy for his hard work on the show.
Okay,
that's why I'm not like so mad about this story.
Can we buy a Marconi Award? That's what I want to
Well,
know.
like,
Can we
what
look
if we
into that?
won a Marconi Award, but let's say
we didn't get it,
or
Adam
like
got
Paul,
it.
Like Adam got it,
Oh,
and he
forget
wanted
it.
to order extra. Well, we've got 4 program directors, and they all get a Marconi, and he gives us one each for the show. But he was the only one who
stoked.
got.
I'd be.
That's why it's like
I'd be
okay,
elated.
it's actually kind of a cool move by the
Kind of is.
producers.
Yeah.
Now,
you have to do that.
What's the difference between, because the Emmys are weird, because like you just mentioned the Marconi Awards, those are national radio awards. It's like the Oscars for
Right.
radio.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, you're the only person in local television that doesn't have 4-time Emmy award-winning storyteller
Woods is
in
right.
their bio.
There's like a.
It's like regional for Emmys, but then
There's
what are
like-
the Emmys on TV? The Emmy Awards that I see once a year.
There's like $100 and something fee that you have to put to submit your entry. There's another $200 if you want to win the trophy, and I really don't care about such things, and I don't ever spend the money on myself to really nominate myself for just some BS award. What's it going to do
buy
for me?
you one?
Well, I
Do
mean,
you want me to buy
no,
it
I
for
mean,
you?
I'd
We
have
get
to
a GoFundMe
I'd
going.
have to actually like put together the reel
reel
to enter and everything, and
I feel
I've
like
never
you're-
really done that.
I've seen some of the people that's won them. You're better.
Thank
all
you.
right?
See?
So if that's maybe that helps.
The reward I get is people like listening to this show.
That's
and
true.
That's more important than what some awards panel says about our show anyway. Ask any person in television or radio, would you rather be number 1 in ratings or win an Emmy?
Oh,
They
ratings.
will all say number 1 in ratings.
No question. No question
All
about
of
it. This is just going to have to be maybe a new segment on our program in perpetuity, but we'll do this for Do This today.
DD Mega Doo
You're
Doo.
going to have to start watching the Paul Feinbaum show, it
Fine.
sounds like.
Fine by. Well, I don't, because somebody tweets them out every day, and it's just been manna. It's just been manna from heaven. We have the newest, latest, greatest Bama man that is not in favor of a potential suitor for the job.
I don't know if this is manna because I'm not sure I understood a single word he said.
Fair enough.
This is his name was Legend from Alabama. He
Legend.
called the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday. What do you think they were talking about in Alabama?
Alabama.
But I'm going to tell you, Greg Burns, if it's Dabo Sweeney, I'm pouring gasoline on myself and setting myself on fire on the 50-yard line.
Right.
You can guarantee it. If it's Dabo Sweeney, I'm pouring my arm off and taking that contract fracture and beating the hell out of myself. No damn Dabo. Do you hear me, Greg Burns? That's from the Alabama nation. Get it right. You'll be judged on this one right here, brother. You'll be judged on this one right here. Man, Paul, I don't know, brother. I don't know. Y'all pray for me. Pray for me. Help me, Jesus. Nick, change your mind, baby. Change your mind.
I don't know what he's saying.
We ain't going to make it without you.
They're so
Nick and Legend has left the bill.
they're so upset about Nick Saban leaving, and he's.
I understood. He said
He
if
says
they hired Dabo,
he's gonna light himself on fire.
and then cut his own arm off and beat
himself with it.
with his arm
Yeah.
that he is cut off. I think Dabo would be a good hire, actually. So I guess
They don't.
agree to disagree.
Yeah, agree to disagree, Legend.
What does he say here?
Change your mind, baby.
Change your mind.
Change your mind.
Maybe change your mind.
If you've made up your mind that
Change
Dabo's
your
the guy,
mind.
change your mind.
I love that.
Nick is Legend, I think I heard.
Yeah, Nick is Legend. I can't get enough.
Apparently, that is also the English language.
It is.
I like Roll Damn Tide. What do you say? No Damn Dabo.
No Damn Dabo. I am just obsessed with this now. This is going to be my new obsession. There was a new Roll Tide Willie. We can probably pull that for you guys and play it later. I can't get enough. I cannot get enough of it.
But we'll save that for later because that's Don't and Do This for a Friday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
I'll make you one guarantee. What we do in our next segment, everyone in radio is going to copy us today. They're all going to say, Ben and Woods, that was a great idea.
We're going to do it too.
And they are going to do it as well.
I can't wait to come in and coup d'etat some of your picks right now as well because I've got some numbers that I pulled yesterday that are going to make it even tougher.
The first ever radio.
First time ever.
NFL playoff pick segment.
Against the spread, by the way.
In history coming up next.
Against the spread, Ben. It's unbelievable.
Ben and Woods.
Woo!
Do you want me to Ben-splain the spread?
No.
For our listeners when we come back on 97.3 The Fan.
We really are this is just literally 4th down and 2 yards and we are just saying, punt it. Punt is what you want to do.
Woods
right
likes
now.
every segment to be groundbreaking radio of every single show.
I like a little avant-garde in my
I don't
life.
mind mixing in the classics every once in a while.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stairway to Heaven is right here for you.
And NFL picks are the stairway to heaven of
Come
sports
on.
talk radio. No doubt about it.
for some football?
Just quickly before we get to the picks, if you missed it, the New England Patriots this morning have already named a new head coach. And you might be asking, why is it that they don't have to go through the whole interview process and the Rooney Rule and everything that other teams do? I guess they had laid the groundwork already. If you have a coach in waiting and you kind of report that to the league office, and they did it like last year for Gerard Mayo, you can skip the process. And they just named him their new head coach this morning. So no big...
Does he have to be all quiet and like, I can't say anything and I can't tell anybody and don't look Bill right in the eye? Bill knew it was going to be Gerard Mayo.
Well, Bill is the one who brought him into the staff.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
So I mean, it's a bit of you could call it a betrayal of your mentor. But
did he bring him onto the staff to replace him?
This actually relates to a Padres Mike Shildt story that again, good piece in the UT by Kevin Acey. When Mike Shildt was fired by the Cardinals, the first person he called was Ollie Marmol. So you better take that job. Don't, out of some misguided loyalty to me, like say, no, I don't want it. This is your job now. You take that job. And I would imagine Bill Belichick probably would say the same thing to Gerard Mayo. You know what? I'm gone. It's your job. You take it. You run with it. So, and then there's been a lot of speculation that Bill Belichick's going to land perhaps with the Atlanta Falcons. Although I think it was Schefter was speculating yesterday that if a playoff team loses like in the first round, and I don't know who we're talking about, but Nick Sirianni, Sean McDermott, Buffalo, Philadelphia, and they think that they could improve their lot with Bill Belichick. Don't be surprised if Bill Belichick's next team may still be playing this weekend.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Which would be very... Can you imagine him going to the Eagles? Like, they fire Nick Sirianni for a collapse at the end of the season, and Bill Belichick all of a sudden...
You feel like you're playing for your job, coaching for your job this weekend? That's
after
wild.
a Super Bowl and all the success he's already had, that he is all of a sudden now maybe coaching for his job this weekend?
Bill should just show up at that game and make himself visible and just sit there and watch.
I think what if he stayed in the video? What if he went to Buffalo?
100%.
I mean, Sean McDermott was on the hot seat earlier this year. They've turned it around, but if they pratfall against the Steelers at home and go, we can get Belichick in the division and run him into New England, as the road team next season.
Be amazing.
That would be spicy.
Save that, Paulie. Save that for sure.
All right, let's
get
check
to
traffic.
it. All right.
And then we will get to our 6 Super Wild Card Weekend against the spread picks in our playoff-long competition between the Ben and Woods hosts next on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Happy to report no incidents, no accidents, no surprises on our roads, which means, of course, you're still going to see the usual slowing in the usual spots. Yeah, we're looking at you, West 52, heading out of Santee. Also, we've got lots of company on northbound side of the 805 around 47th, on up toward University before it lets you go, and northbound side of the 5, a little sluggish for you from the 54 through National City. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Are we putting money on this or what?
Yeah, we're putting money on it. $20
Around.
a man. Around. No, it's for the whole competition because it's
kidding.
points. So round ones, wild card round games are worth 1 point. Divisional games are worth 2. Conference championship worth 3. Super Bowl is worth 4.
Play along with us at home.
And we're picking against the spread. And let's get going right now with the first game of a wild card weekend. It is the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. The Browns are favored by 1. Woodsy will go in. Each person will take a turn going first.
Now, Paulie's got the line here at 2. -2. Is that
Browns favored by 2?
okay?
And we'll take a turn each going first. So you go first on this game. You got the Browns. You got the Texans. Who do you like?
Joe Flacco, 11-4 against the spread in the NFL playoffs, including 3-1 against the spread as a playoff favorite. I'm rolling with Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns to cover -2.
I agree with your reasoning. I think the experience factor is big in this one. First playoff game for C.J. Stroud. First playoff game for a lot of those Houston Texans right now, even though they are at home. I also think that division was pretty mediocre all year long. Yes, they pulled it out in the end. Cleveland's a good team. They've been a good team all year long. There's no reason they shouldn't win this game. I'll take the Browns and lay the 2 points as well.
Well, it's going to be a boring first game then because I'm also
we are
picking
tied
the Cleveland
after the first.
Browns.
All right, we are tied after one round.
You guys riveted yet?
I will go first. Game 2 tomorrow.
Best radio we have ever done right here.
The Miami Dolphins visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites. A lot of people are saying, well, Miami can't win in the cold. It's going to be so cold in Kansas City. I don't know that the Kansas City players are really that acclimated to the kind of weather they're going to be playing in. But at 4.5, and the way Miami finished the season, the disappointment of not winning the division and having to go on the road, and the fact that Patrick Mahomes is just a playoff wizard, I don't think the Chiefs are going all the way this year, but I do think they get past the Miami Dolphins, and I think they can cover the 4.5 at home in this game tomorrow.
Paulie?
All right. This one was tough. I'm also going to ride with Kansas City. I'm reluctant to do so because I feel like every time I have bet on Kansas City this year, they have disappointed me.
Correct.
But I'm going to ride with the Chiefs.
All right. Well, I mean, this is really boring. Miami, people don't just say that they can't win in cold weather. They can't. Since 2017, Ben, they are 0-9 in games less than 40 degrees. Wow. 2-7 against the spread. Single-digit temperatures expected in Kansas City on Saturday night. I am also rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs minus 4.5.
Love the debate in here. It's always great. If they were healthy, maybe I could make the argument for the Dolphins. They're also riddled by injuries.
If it was 50 degrees, you could make
even Ella, who's been a Dolphins fan like his whole life, goes, I don't think they've got a shot in this game. So, all right, we're all on the Kansas City Chiefs. On to Sunday.
This one sucks.
The early game, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills, the biggest favorites of the weekend, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They are 10-point favorites. Paul, you go first on this one.
Easily the toughest choice for me of the 6 games. I think the Bills win. 10 is a lot of points in the NFL, especially in the NFL playoffs, especially with a team that's just, they're not great, the Steelers, but they are solid. And I'm going to take Pittsburgh plus 10 points on Saturday.
All right, that's a good bet. I don't think that the Bills are going to cover, so I'm also riding with Pittsburgh.
All right, Mason Rudolph at quarterback. TJ Watt is out. The Steelers are not at full strength. Bills are red hot. I understand why this number is 10. But I just don't see Mike Tomlin letting his team lose by more than double digits in a playoff game. I got to go.
You want to go different? No,
I did. I was hoping you'd both go Buffalo, and I wanted to go different with the Steelers.
This is great.
I will go with the
Steelers
Steelers
all
as well.
agree.
And get
Just
10
so
points.
everybody is clear, we do not do any preparation.
Well,
on this.
obviously, if we wanted to arrange it, we would have decided who's taking what, and we'll really argue about it. But I mean, we're going through all the arguments. We're just all settling on the same side. All right, so far, this has been pointless.
Right.
Woodsy, let's go back to you. For the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys, Dallas favored by 7 at home against the visiting Packers.
How about them Cowboys? I'm taking the Cowboys minus 7.
I think this game is going to be the biggest blowout of the weekend.
Funny, well, yeah, you say that, and when I bet the game, because I will be betting all of these for sure, I'm going to buy that down a little bit.
Dallas was not just good at home; they were
phenomenal.
They were phenomenal at home this season.
It's Cowboys, though. It's Cowboys.
It
for
is
playoffs.
the Cowboys,
Yep.
and they will have their moment. I just think it'll probably be next week, not this week. I think the Dallas Cowboys get it done pretty easily. I think they win by. You want to tease that one up a little bit, a little extra money. I think they win by like 20 in this game. I don't think it's that close. Give me the Cowboys. Paul? I think it'd be the funniest pick segment ever if we just
all
agreed on every single game.
I had all my picks set before the segment started.
Don't be
Dallas.
a contrarian. All right, 4 for 4. We all agree. I mean,
I almost wanted to lie and then just actually bet money still on Dallas.
What's really going to be hilarious, though, is when we agree on all 6 picks and then we come back on Monday
and they're all wrong
on every single one of them. worst pick segment in the history of sports talk radio.
They're all bad.
This is already
they're
the
all
worst
bad.
segment
They're all
we've ever
bad.
done.
Anytime it's done.
On to the Sunday night game, the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. My pick first. The Rams have been playing really well. They've got Sean McVay. They've got Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field. But to me, Matthew Stafford had his moment a couple of years ago. It's Jared Goff's turn to have a moment in front of those home fans. There's, after everything that's been said, 30-plus years without winning a division, 1991 last playoff win, the Detroit Lions are going to be desperate to win this game. They have to win this game in front of their home fans. They are going to cover the 3-point spread. Give me the Lions. Paulie.
I will be taking the Lions
Nice.
as well. I want the Dan Campbell experience to continue.
As do I, but I'm going to go ahead and go contrarian. I'll take the Rams because this one I'm just up in the air on.
Yeah, this was probably the toughest one
This
for me.
is a tough one. I'm going to
besides
take
the Bills.
I'm going to take the Rams.
I mean, the dynamic Puka Nacua,
so fun to watch.
Cooper Kupp, they are great. But
Yeah,
in the
playing
playoffs,
hot.
just gets a little tougher. I think it's the
Indoors,
Lions.
they can sling it.
They can.
You know, so I'm rooting for the Lions, but I'm picking the Rams.
Finally, the Monday Night Football playoff wildcard weekend wrap up. The Philadelphia Eagles, who remain 3-point favorites, even though they've lost, 5 of 6 down the stretch, visiting the Tampa Bay Bucks, whose offense could give the Eagles some problems. Paulie, you get to go first.
Eagles have looked awful at the end of the season. Jalen Hurts hurt that hand. I don't know how he's going to be on Monday, but even if he's at 100%, they have just played so bad. I've liked what I've seen from the Bucks. Baker Mayfield had a good year. I'm going to take Tampa Bay and plus 3 points.
Okay, I'm going to roll with the Eagles on this one. There was, talk of them just kind of lulling everyone to sleep. If Hurts' hand is really, really gnarly, they may be toast. But you know what, man? At the end of the day, it's still the Eagles. They still know how to win. I'm going to take them.
So I'm the tiebreaker on this one.
Yep.
I also lean toward the Eagles, Woods. I've seen teams in the NFL start the season hot, go into the slump at the end of the year, and then kick it back into gear in the playoffs. And to me, I feel like the Eagles could still make a run, actually. If they play well this week, you're gonna be afraid of the Eagles in playing them. There's no doubt about it. And they've got that experience. They have the playmakers necessary, even though they have looked awful. I will take the Eagles against a mediocre division champion in the Tampa Bay Bucks. Give me Philadelphia -3.
All right, done.
All right, so we didn't agree completely on everything. The 2 games that we disagreed on, Paulie took the Rams, right?
I took the Rams.
No, Woods took the Rams. We both took Detroit. Mm-hmm. And then Paulie took Tampa Bay. We both took Philadelphia. We all agree, though, Cleveland, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Dallas.
Can I? You know what? I'll change one of my picks.
Okay, yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
going to take the Bills now. I just saw a stat that said they're like 12 and double-digit favorites are like 11-4 in Wild Card Weekend.
Covering?
Covering.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll roll with the Bills. There.
That was the toughest. That was actually the toughest one for me.
That was because the points.
Because you know
Change
the
me.
Bills are going to win that game.
I mean, if it's 7.5, I am absolutely taking Buffalo.
Yeah, it's one of those. What do they say? If you don't think an underdog can win outright, you probably shouldn't be betting on the underdog.
I'll take.
And I don't know that I think Pittsburgh can win this game outright. It just seems like a huge number for a prideful Mike Tomlin coach Steelers team that rarely gets embarrassed. I mean, rarely do the Pittsburghs. They had a couple of games this year where they were pretty bad, though. So I mean, I can see Buffalo winning this game by double digits. I'm not going to be shocked if I get that one wrong, but I'll keep riding with Pittsburgh.
I'll take Buff.
All right, so you've switched. So we have a couple of games that we disagree on. We'll see how we did on Monday, and then you'll get into the serious, the divisional games. Add the 49ers and the Ravens into the mix next week, and by 2 weeks from now, everyone will have forgotten most of the wild card games at this point. You get into the real meat of the playoffs going forward.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get, the biggest, as Tony just reminded us, the big game tomorrow is the Aztecs, 11 a.m., Benjamin. It's going to be a full sports day.
Yeah, you don't have to compete with playoff games since they don't start until 1 o'clock. The entire country will get to watch San Diego State against the University of New Mexico tomorrow. Aztecs going for their 8th straight win, I believe, as they visit the Lobos. And it's the everyone remembers, of course, Lamont Butler's buzzer beater in the Final Four. He also had a buzzer beater about a month earlier to beat New Mexico, a 3-pointer from the top of the arc to lift them to a 2-point win over the Lobos. And I saw yesterday they announced the pit is officially sold out.
Of course it is.
For that game, as most Aztecs opponents will sell out that visit. So they'll be wanting revenge for the loss last year, the way it happened, and should be an entertaining one on Saturday for the Aztecs.
We got to get to this story about the weather in Buffalo, the weather in Kansas City. It's going to be insane.
All right, let's come back. We'll reset things. Final 2 hours of Ben and Woods of the week ahead on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we're halfway home on a Friday. If we have any listeners left after our NFL picks segment.
San Diego is buzzing after that segment.
Man, I mean, we don't even have an NFL team here. Makes it even better.
I hope at least it would be entertaining for people to follow along and see which one of us looks like an idiot. I don't know.
No, the answer is all three of us, as usual.
Yeah.
I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl. He's our executive producer.
Woods was already, we went to the bathroom during the break. You were already changing your picks in your mind.
Yeah, well,
you were that strong with your selections that you were second and now third guessing yourself already.
Now I'm third guessing myself. I just saw a report out of Buffalo, you guys. The winter storm watch in Buffalo. And they're saying potential 65-mile-an-hour winds.
Good God.
How do you throw in that? Not well, I would imagine.
Good luck kicking a field goal.
They said travel is next to impossible. So I'm assuming that it's Friday, and the game is on that game is on Sunday. I'm assuming the Steelers are there potentially, maybe in Buffalo right now. Obviously, the Bills are there in Buffalo, but 65-mile-an-hour winds, a foot of snow expected as well. Look, we see it all the time in the NFL. Like, they're going to figure it out. And the people from Buffalo, they'll figure out how to get. Bills Mafia is not going to wake up and go, I'm not going.
They'll still be jumping off trucks onto folding tables
no doubt.
In the parking lot.
Yeah. I mean, there will be people there. It's going to be a really uncomfortable experience. And then in Kansas City, they're talking about a wind chill of negative 30 degrees or something. Good. Now, that's the one where I go, that's just unsafe.
I've seen some criticism that they're keeping that game at night after dark, that at least move it like into the daytime when there's some sun out to warm people who are going to the game for safety purposes. I think that's a bit of a fair criticism. You can't really postpone the games, though. It's
you
the
really
playoffs.
can't.
You need a winner. You need to move on. You can't just completely torch the entire postseason schedule by going, well, we can't really play these games. What if you postpone it until Tuesday or Wednesday and then the winner has to play on 3 days rest in a postseason game the next week? It doesn't really work. I think the worst case scenario for the NFL, if the weather was truly impassable in Buffalo, like people couldn't get to the game, you probably would have to offer like refunds for tickets, but you still would play the game. You'd need the players to show up and staff to clear the snow as much as you can. I mean, there's a playoff game on Monday, so if the weather was going to be better, technically you could do a Monday doubleheader at the same time. But, they lose out on a lot of ratings. I mean, there's a reason why playoff games don't overlap. They want everybody to watch every single one of them. They don't want you
Monday is a holiday. They could play that game, the stagger.
Oh, early in the day. Yeah. I mean,
has an NFL game ever been like snowed out or colded out?
Colded out. I don't think so.
I mean, there's been some historically frigid games. Chargers playoff game.
But we're talking like
Cincinnati,
people literally can't get to the stadium.
Ice Bowl. But in terms of like, was there ever a game so cold they canceled? I don't think there ever was. I mean, the football is a game of elements. And they've played them in the elements. Unless there's like lightning and then they have to stop the game.
Yeah, the
until
lightning
it passes. There's been stadiums like Qualcomm Stadium flooded, or when we had the fires and they couldn't play here because of they were using it as an evacuation area. So they had to move the game to Arizona. So there certainly have been weather-related alterations to NFL schedules before. But like a playoff game just because it's too cold, I don't think they've ever canceled one for that reason.
The older I get, the young me would have braved all of the elements. The old me, no. I would watch from my home. It's really tough. I mean, we're so lucky here that rarely ever do we get, like we had the rain delay on opening day, and everyone it was like the end of the world. I mean, we just couldn't believe that it was actually happening, dumping rain on opening day here. They don't have rainouts here, if ever. Very, very, very seldom. We're very, very lucky to have our baseball team here. And when the football team was here, 7 years ago today, by the way, Ben, they left. So
I don't keep track.
No, it's not on your calendar or anything like that. But I don't know what they're going to do. I know it makes for good viewing. It's fun to watch games like that. When you can barely see anything and the wind is whipping around,
It
and
is.
snow is falling.
Snow games are always great to watch from the comfort of your living room.
100%. But would you, like, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan and you live in Kansas City and they're saying, hey, man, could be as cold as -5 with a wind chill of -30, are you going to that game? Because you got to
I have tickets.
You got tickets. And you're a huge Chiefs fan, it's going to be -30. It's going to feel -30. You got to get there, and then you got to sit outside and do that.
Dude, if I'm a huge Chiefs fan, I've seen plenty of
I was
really
just
good
going to say the
playoff
same
games
thing.
in the last 5
But let's
years.
say you're let's say it's like the
Detroit-
Lions, and obviously
Yeah.
the Lions play inside, but it's like your first playoff game in 30 years, and you're finally getting a home game. I'm brave in the snow. I want to go and I want to be there. I asked the question in Woods. Let's say the Padres, Game 7 of the World Series, and it's somewhere freezing. And I know they wouldn't play it if it was 10 below wind chill for a baseball game, but if they did, would you brave it? Or you have tickets, or would you just give it up and watch it from home?
It's Game 7.
Yeah. You've got tickets for Game 7, but you're going to be miserable there.
Well, I mean, honestly, hey, think about this as a strategy. Watch it from a warm bar for the first few innings. See how the game's going, and if you have a shot, get your ass into the stadium. And you're like, all right, well, I can tough it out for 5.
You're
If
up
we can-
5-1 in the
5-1
fourth
in the
inning.
fourth. You're like, all right, I'm going to the game. If you're 6-0 in the first, you're like, fine, I'm just going to stay warm. Or what if you're at that game and the opposing team scores 6 runs in the first inning? You walking? It's Game 7. Like, anything can happen. I don't know, man. I don't like the cold. I do. Now, I've lived it. I've lived in some of the
you're the
coldest
person
places.
who listened to Jake Cronenworth's big hit over the Dodgers.
No, I saw it. At
Well,
home.
you were already home.
But I was home.
Yeah.
I heard Ha-Seong Kim's double.
Yeah.
I left the stadium.
See, I was still there. I would not trade that.
You didn't leave because of the rain.
No,
You just
I left
because it was late.
No, I left because, we had a sitter, number one, and Hannah was getting very mad at me because I was losing my mind, screaming at the people and the TV and everything. She's like, you're going to get killed. Let's go. Fine. We'll watch this. And we heard the whole thing, and it was great. I wouldn't trade that either. I was running around the house in my boxer briefs when he got that hit. It was amazing.
Let's briefly talk, and we'll talk more Padres coming up at 9 o'clock with AJ Cassavell. But the eating of fruit yesterday, you got called out by our boss.
Not called out, praised.
Like praised, yeah, called out in a good way. For the video you posted of yourself eating a banana.
I was inspired by. Can you play his audio, Paulie?
Was there audio? I thought it was just it was just video.
Well, if you want to hear somebody eating and slurping an orange, that's what Fernando Tatis Jr. did yesterday. He was walking somewhere and he was enjoying himself a nice, fresh orange right off the tree, and he knew what he was doing.
I didn't know what he was doing. Can
being
you
sexy.
explain to me?
Yeah, he's being sexy.
Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah.
And he knew
And he had the tag that said "Que rico," which means "Oh, how delicious." And he was walking and had his shirt, buttoned down and looking at the camera and just sucking on his orange.
I don't actually find chewing noises to be sexy, especially your chewing noises.
It is my wife's number one pet peeve. She has that thing. It's a real disorder. She can't sit at a table with us as me and the kids and eat. She has to stand in the kitchen. It's difficult for her. She has that. It's not a disease, but she has that affliction.
Chewing noises.
Yeah.
And so then you
sends
posted a
her.
video of yourself.
So I was inspired. I looked around the kitchen. I watched the video. I laughed because all the female Fernando Tatis Jr. fans were like, oh my God, I've never wanted to be an orange so bad in my life. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm looking around. I go, well, we have grapes. Well, that's weird. So I'm loudly eating a banana.
It creeps me out.
Oh,
it really
it's
does.
gnarly.
Maybe
Yeah,
I have
I did
some
it on
of what Hannah
purpose.
has.
I did it on purpose.
But so did Fernando's.
Yeah, so did he.
I just don't love that sound.
He knew what he was doing. If I had an orange, I would have done the orange.
No, oranges have juices.
Yeah, the bananas do not. They have strings on the side of them.
Banana noises.
Yeah. So I did that Just doing a little fun bit. I was inspired. He inspires me as well.
Are we actually actively trying to turn off listeners with football picks and chewing noises
sounds. Yeah.
this morning?
Is that me? Is that me? No, that's you. Yeah, banana. That's all I had. That's the only fruit I had in the kitchen. So it was a fun one.
That's me drinking my coffee out of a straw. There we go.
A little ASMR action.
But yeah, Michael he goes, I love this. So creative. Thank you.
So creative. So creative. You have everyone fooled, don't you?
I do. It was so good. No, Bean says I need to eat a bean for that. Absolutely not. I murdered that. I murdered that video yesterday. So that was fun.
I still don't get it, but that's
What do you
fine.
mean you don't get it?
I don't get the posting of yourself eating an orange. I get you what you did.
Oh, yeah. I was just doing
I don't
a bit.
get the original, like, what inspired Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm eating an orange. You know what? People will want to see this.
You don't think that? I mean, go look at the quote tweets from every female in the audience. They were like, "Oh my god!" I mean, they couldn't control themselves. They could not control themselves. They were like, "The guy, he's a sex symbol, right?" So, yeah, makes sense. Women everywhere, Ben. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Miley says women get it, Ben. It's not for you to get.
Fair enough.
In your mind, your analytical mind goes, why would anyone want to see anybody eating an orange? Or really anything. But for him, he's like, watch this, guys. And every woman was like, So, I mean, that's what you do. Yeah, JH said, listening to someone eat a banana is one of the most disgusting noises ever. It's true. You're not wrong. It's part of the reason I did it. I also didn't have any other fruit in the house. A plum would have been really good. You hear me try to slurp a dry banana?
There's just that slight stickiness that I can hear.
Yeah,
That
it's just so gnarly.
It turns me off, especially.
I don't even like bananas all that much, too. So it wasn't my favorite bit to do, but sometimes you have to do it.
I want to talk a little bit about tiny news, just a tidbit of information about the Padres catching core that you shared this morning. We'll get to that coming up. Let's take a quick break. AJ Cassavell at 9 o'clock, so more Padres talk coming up with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Wish a very happy birthday to the lefty himself, the great Randy Jones. Benjamin?
I love that man.
I love him too. I love you too, Paulie. He's the best, man. What are you going to throw one effing strike all week?
He'll be out there next week. I'll see him.
Yeah, buddy, you will see him.
Oh, looking
Love
forward to
RJ,
seeing
man.
RJ.
Happy birthday,
Randy.
pal.
Congratulations to Xander Bogaerts, was named the number 3 shortstop in all of baseball yesterday on MLB Now's top 10 shortstops list.
Weird.
Behind Corey Seager and Francisco Lindor, just ahead of Dansby Swanson and Trey Turner.
Okay.
Rounding out the top 5. So,
Who else had a birthday today? Let's find out.
We're doing birthdays and
sharing of birthdays. Well, it's also National Curried Chicken Day, as well as Randy Jones's birthday.
Fair enough.
It's also Work Harder Day, which I don't think we're really doing,
I'm not
unfortunately.
gonna do that. It's Friday, man. We do what we want.
And Joe Musgrove's favorite holiday, National Kettlebell Day.
I saw
Howard
that.
Stern's 70th birthday.
Oh,
today.
yes.
Rob Zombie turned 59. Jeff Bezos turned 60. Rush Limbaugh. Kirstie Alley.
She's still alive?
No.
Oh.
She passed away in 22.
That's right. Rest in peace.
Do we think Xander Bogaerts is a little overrated at number 3 right now, or does that feel correct to you?
I don't know. I don't really care about those lists, as you know. The arbitrary ranking of a shortstop. Who's below him?
Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner, Bo Bichette.
No, below him.
Oh, like above him.
Below him. He's 3.
Yeah.
Who's below him? Who's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner, Bo Bichette. 4, 5, 6. Carlos Correa 7. Willie Adames, Bobby Witt Jr., J.P. Crawford.
All right.
Top 10.
I think about which of those guys I would rather have Bobby Witt Jr. just because he's infinitely younger and
right now.
Though.
This is the right now list.
He's younger and more
I
controllable.
think Trey Turner is the one that feels a little underranked right now at 5. He could be higher.
Who do you want for 2024 right now?
Trey Turner or Xander Bogaerts?
Trey Turner, maybe.
That's why I feel like he might be a little underrated.
I think more complete player, than Xander. I like Xander a lot.
He's a really good slider. I like his slides.
His slides are electric.
They are good. All right. There was some chatter yesterday that the Padres may still be interested in re-signing Gary Sanchez, which first thing you think of, well, they've got to taken care of their catching core. They've got Campusano. They've already named him essentially the starter. Picked up Kyle Higashioka as his backup. Why are you still interested in perhaps paying for Gary Sanchez when you have a limited budget and other areas of need to fill? But one of the areas the Padres need to fill is a designated hitter going forward, and Sanchez certainly did a great job in that role as well last year for the Padres and had a lot of success when he came over to San Diego. I can certainly see why there would be some mutual interest between the Padres and Gary Sanchez extending that relationship. The question, of course, is what's the appropriate figure to pay Gary Sanchez, a player who was acquired for nothing last year, was given up on by multiple organizations, and then blossomed with the Padres. Do you get to pay a little bit less because he blossomed with you, or are you basically starting at scratch and having to pay whatever the going market rate is now for Gary Sanchez, whatever that is, to bring him back, even if you're not going to really give him a lot of innings behind the plate?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, with injuries and things like that, if Gary, let's say this, I don't know what the market is for Gary Sanchez, but you're okay if you go into camp with 2 healthy catchers and Brett Sullivan and the other litany. AJ Cassavell, who's coming on in a little while, just wrote an article about all of the catchers the Padres have. And listen, if Campusano and Higgy are your catchers moving forward and they come out of spring training healthy, you're fine. You're fine to wait. Gary Sanchez may still be there. I don't know what the market is for a Gary Sanchez right now. I don't know how many people are knocking down the door. Probably encouraged by what they saw with the Padres, but there's a decent chance he could be unsigned then.
Could he play first base in a pinch?
I don't know, man.
If you needed him over there, would you still be interested in talking to Garrett Cooper, who remains a free agent, and bringing him back?
Not
at
particularly.
Some point
He was okay.
As a designated hitter and a guy who can play first base.
You could platoon him with Cronenworth at first. You could. I mean,
if there's, if Manny's not ready to play the infield, you got Kim at third to start the season, Crony at second. You need a first baseman.
Yep, fine with that.
You could bring Cooper back and have him there, and then he goes into a designated hitter role later in the season. Or, as we talked about earlier this week, you at some point could trade Ha-Sung Kim and move Cronenworth back to second. They needed a full-time first baseman to be in that position. And the Padres certainly don't have any other full-time first base options right now on their roster.
No, and A.J. Cassavell, that was his latest piece, and we'll discuss it with him in 30 minutes when he comes on the show, talking about who will play first base, who should play first base. And his verdict essentially is, look, Cronenworth is probably your first baseman for now as the roster stands. Everybody says so easy to go out and find a first baseman. I would love to see it.
There is the argument is, of course, Cronenworth's numbers at second base make him a premium guy there, and his numbers at first base make him a, kind of not quite up to the snuff offensively. I don't 100% subscribe to that. You have 9 players that bat, and you can put them wherever you want, and they will produce what they produce, and it doesn't really matter what position they're playing. It only matters how much they actually produce at home plate. And if you can put together an offense that gets you enough runs to win games, doesn't matter if your first baseman happens to be a little above average or below average, the other first baseman, or your second baseman is way better than the other ones. It's about the sum total of what you put together on your offense.
Well, this sums it up pretty good. He says when he plays first base, Cronenworth is an average hitter who doesn't bring much defensive value. When he plays second, he's an above-average hitter who was a Gold Glove finalist in his last full season there in 2022. I do understand the value. I do understand wanting a more premium, like put your player where they can be a more premium player. Jake Cronenworth is better at second base than he is at first.
That's under the presumption that you can then find a first baseman who can replace the offense that you're losing when you move Jake over to second. Should be a little bit easier to do that, I agree. But ultimately, you're getting 9 batters every game. And the goal is to put together the best combination of 9 batters. And the goal defensively is to put together your best combination of 9 fielders. And what you're trying to do is get the best sum total of all of it. And it doesn't really matter what you're getting from where, if you're getting to where you want to get to offensively. So Jake is going to be Jake, whether he's playing first or second base. You see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I do. But you're then costing yourself. You're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul by playing a guy out of position that makes a certain amount of money that's not as good there when you could have a better player.
If you had a better player, but they don't have the better player right now.
Like, let's say Jake has a not great year, bats .220 and hits 12 home runs. Out of 15 National League teams, if he's at second base, that doesn't look as bad.
Right.
If he's at first base, that's 15th out of 15th of NL first baseman.
My argument is always like, why Jeff Kent is not a Hall of Famer. People will go, man, for a second baseman, that guy put up incredible offensive numbers. Yeah, but he wasn't a great second baseman. Right. You can't just say because he played second base, all of a sudden his numbers are worth more. No, he didn't play great second base, so his numbers aren't worth more. He was a good offensive player, but not a Hall of Famer in any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't matter what you're playing in the field. It matters what you're doing at the plate when you're evaluating his offensive numbers.
Brock says any first baseman in AAA. No. I mean, no. And AJ AJ Cassavell talked about on the 40-man right now, the guys that could potentially play first base are Jake Cronenworth, potentially Matthew Batten, and Luis Campusano. So it doesn't look great right now at the old.
And obviously Campusano is going to be getting the bulk of his innings behind the plate.
Campusano is interesting if he can do it.
But if you sign Sanchez,
if you sign Sanchez and Higashioka, and that's your bridge to Ethan Salas, who you hope is your catcher of your future.
I hate this.
But you're not starting Kyle Higashioka every day, so you can play Luis Campusano at first base.
No.
Exactly. That really is the paying.
That conversation happens only if and only you sign Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, that's the borrowing from Peter to pay Paul on that one. That does make any sense at all. unless you sign Gary Sanchez, Luis Camposano has to be behind the plate.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry,
agreed.
I thought that was clear. It's
Okay.
only contingent on if you signed Gary Sanchez.
All right, you heard a little bit earlier. We have some more cuts from Mike Shildt in the interview that did with Annie and Elston yesterday, including, I think, some interesting comments about the farm system, which he has a much better knowledge of than Bob Melvin ever did. Bob Melvin was not that concerned with what was going down in the minor leagues with the Padres. But Mike Shildt absolutely is. As you said, Woodsy, organizational guy, and that means from the bottom all the way to the top. Mike Shildt is going to make sure he knows what's going on. So we'll hear a little bit more of that coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Got to spend a little time yesterday on the golf course with one of our colleagues that I don't really think I've hung out much with. He sat at our table at the Christmas party.
You don't hang out with many colleagues really ever.
And I got to hang out with Matt Scraby. I had a
one
really good
colleague
time.
besides the two of us that you do hang out with.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
But maybe I should do it more because we had a good time.
Good.
And if I'm being honest, so we were at the preview, Farmers Insurance Open preview day. And if I'm being honest, I think he actually beat me, which was very impressive. He started out on fire. Now, he was playing a couple tees up from where I was playing.
You played the back tees.
I played the back tees, test myself at Torrey, and the rough was nasty. I mean, nasty.
Always is.
I lost a ball barely off the fairway and couldn't find it in the rough. It was that deep. But he made an incredible up and down par on the first hole, which is the toughest starting hole out there, the South
go
course.
shot by shot with Matt Scraby's
No,
round
and then on the
yesterday?
second hole, he drove the green
right
on the
now?
par 4
Sounds
and
like
had an
that's what's
eagle
happening.
putt.
I know we're light.
I'd rather just do our NFL picks again.
Right.
I'm not. I'm
That's
just
no
saying
offense
I
to
had
Matt
a
Scraby
had a
at
good
all. That's-
time, and he
that's-
impressed me
Well,
with
you said that, but then
some
you
of his
started
tee
doing his
balls
shot by shot, his round.
Do you want me to continue?
How
On
did
the
you-
third hole, he was just off the back of the green. Don't think he got that one up and down for par, but still, it was a nice tee shot.
CBS Sports Radio and just hit the road.
I was just trying to make a nice point that I enjoyed myself with a colleague. I wish I could have played the whole round, but I had to get to work, and I had to leave after 11 holes.
If you've ever, I think I've told this story before, but if you ever play golf with Ben, my dad said on Thanksgiving, it's cool you guys like go out and play golf together, and like you can talk about the show. I go, there's no talking about the show. All he does is focus 100% on golf. Is that a 7-iron? I hit a 7-iron. I tried to hit a little draw in it. I lift that putt out. I'm like, there's no other. You just get focused. I would never, if we played around, I would never remember what you did on 1, 2, or 3. It's a quirk.
I'm pretty good at remembering what everybody in the group did on every hole.
Yeah, you're very good.
Yeah,
you're like a watchdog.
But I feel like you're supposed to focus on the
What
activities.
hole did I eagle at Aviara?
Oh,
last
yeah.
time we played?
That was the 8th hole, the par 5 downhill.
This mother
Second
effer.
shot over the water.
Good
You were going to
Lord.
hit an iron and lay up. I talked you into hitting your hybrid,
And he
which you
smoked it.
smoked onto the green. It took a nice, landed in the middle, and then caught the slope and rolled to the right and came back and stopped
No,
about
stop.
like
Okay,
3
you
feet
made
from
your
the
point.
hole.
It's just unbelievable.
I didn't want to hear about Scraby's round. I don't want to hear about my own round.
Jeter said we're hating on Scraby.
I'm
We're not hating on
Scraby
Scraby at all.
I'm hating on Ben.
We're hating on Ben, straight up.
This is all solely on Ben.
Just a lunatic. He does. He's got a
I
memory.
don't care if you were paired with Tiger freaking Woods yesterday.
He's got a memory like a steel trap when it comes to golf. That is for sure.
But
That is so good.
anyway, I know Woods has been trying to beat me for years. Scraby did it first try.
Well, you didn't finish the
I
round.
didn't.
You're playing different tees.
Usually I finish strong. Yeah, it wouldn't be go down in the official record books, but yeah, I was impressed. And he said, I have not driven it this well ever. And
Feels
just nice
good.
job out there.
Feels good when you're
Matt
hitting the
Scraby.
driver.
I also gave him a little bit of the business for taking his 4th show off. After he started his new show this week and
I didn't think
did
about
3
that.
days. He took a vacation day and was off yesterday from the Gwen and Chris and his own show. So 3 days into the new show, it's time for a vacation.
3 days on.
You know I can respect that.
What? Yeah, no doubt. Now that's the story you should have led with. That's
That's much
brilliant.
more interesting.
So did they? So Gwen and Chris must be like, really?
Yeah, they had Italian Paul in yesterday while Scravy was playing golf, and he wanted to play the whole round, so he took a vacation day.
Okay.
So he could enjoy
Well, if I knew we
himself
could
and
have done
finish the
that,
round.
I would have just not.
I would have
been
just
here
not
with you
showed
guys.
up to work.
I would have played early
Oh
because
my
we were
God.
invited to play yesterday as well. But I'm like, dude, I got to do laundry. I got to pack.
I had a massage.
Wasn't feeling great, but you got a massage.
I got a massage. Hour and a half.
Important business for Woods.
Got to get my body right.
I guess you are going to fantasy
Yeah,
camp.
gotta get my
you don't
body
want to
right.
pull something.
No, that was amazing.
All right, we're going to hear a little more of the audio from Mike Shildt in his appearance on Annie and Elston. We'll do that after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. It looks like that crash has cleared on westbound 52 at the northbound 805 connector, but now northbound 15 right before the 52. Accident involving a couple vehicles, one's in the center divide. One's over to the right shoulder. Also traveling on the southbound 67 right before the 8. Accident involving a couple vehicles that is blocking lanes. Viejas Casino and Resort is home to the best players and My Viejas. Start earning points toward incredible rewards like free gifts, concert tickets, hotel stays, dining discounts, and more. It's time to ditch the other guys and join the best. My Viejas Players Club, Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We were talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. eating an orange earlier. I also had some nice comments about Mike Shildt in that piece in the UT.
Very nice.
About, feels like he's the right guy for the Padres as manager right now, that he saw what went wrong and feels like, he's the guy who can come in here and help us get back on track. I'm sure that was good for Mike Shildt to hear. Now, I doubt many of the players are going to say bad things about a manager who is yet to skipper a full game yet, so you're going to probably get glowing comments. But when Mike Shildt appeared on the Annie and Elston show yesterday, they asked him what he has been hearing from the players as he's gone around and visited with some of them so far.
Well, a couple of things to unpack there. First of all, I just want to represent that while I have spoken to some of the bigger names of, that are cornerstones of the organization, I have spoken to pretty much everybody on our club, 40 man. So, I've been able to hear everything because the collective leadership and everybody's voice is important to hear. So just want to make sure that's been represented correctly. Listen, I think everybody's got their own take on what happened. I don't think there's clearly no one that's pleased about it. I think the best term I could say is it's a group that's hungry, but also a group that's, learned, reflected, but is also really excited about moving forward and ready to take care of business in 2024.
Yeah, it's tough, too, because you don't want to belabor the point of everything that happened last year. You don't want to beat it into the ground. If you're a media member, if you're a fan, if you're a player, you just don't. If you had a bad year in 2023, no matter what you do for a living, you don't want to sit there in March and go, God, man, I just can't get over how bad I was last June on the air. Like, I can't, it doesn't do you any good. Now,
You're saying flush it.
Yeah, well, you do need to learn from it.
Yeah, as a fan, I kind of like that it's sticking in their craw a little bit.
No question.
From what happened last year.
No question. And that should dictate how they prepare. It should dictate how they focus. It should dictate a lot of stuff for them. But, I think about when we go out there at spring training, I don't want every first question to be, so what happened last year? But you also can't just gloss over it and say, all right, clean slate for everybody. It's a fine line between using that, it's my favorite phrase in sports. You win or you learn, okay? So what did you learn that's going to help you win? You don't lose, you learn. So what are you going to do different? That's I think a better way to ask it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's been any consensus on what caused last year's problems. There's no evidence that shows they lacked preparation or that they lacked focus. We know they lacked some execution, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were overconfident. Were they underconfident? Was it different guys being different things? I don't know that you can just write and go, here's what went wrong in 2023. Let's not put it on a bulletin board and say, let's not do this again in 2024. The answer to that question is very complex. What went wrong for the Padres in 2023? And sounds like Mike Shildt is the kind of guy who doesn't mind digging into a complex baseball problem and trying to tackle it. And it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution to figure out, how to improve the Padres in 2024.
No, you could say, like, it would be great to be able to just pinpoint one thing or one guy or whatever.
We do that in the media a lot because
we do.
Narratives are fun to talk about and kind of the easy way to go, but it's rarely so simple as, Padres just weren't focused enough, and if we're more focused this year, we'll do better. Nuh-uh. It doesn't work that way. It's baseball.
Yeah, it's baseball. It's completely unpredictable. And I will say, though, some of the things that I pointed to were a lot of weird comments early in the season, even in spring training, about, well, this is what I want to do and blah, 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 and I have to hit here. And, Soto talked about it. Sander talked about it. Manning's talked about it before. I'd rather do this. I'd rather do that. I won't do this. I won't do that. Those are things that you can point to and say, well, that's not the team first attitude that I think everyone's looking for.
But you can't accuse any of them of saying, and then once they had to do that, none of them tried.
Correct.
Because I didn't see that any of them complained when they had to hit second or whatever.
No.
They went out and did the best that they could in those situations. But they certainly did make their wishes known and expressed early in the season.
For sure. For sure. And some weird comments throughout the year. We've talked about them. We've beaten that dead horse. And again, it's over. You can't do anything about last year. The only thing you can do is make sure it doesn't happen again, and try to figure out a way to scratch some of those, change the narrative on some of those one-run games early. I mean, we asked Skip Schumacher, how do you do that? How do you go into this year after a season like last year? He goes, oh, it's pretty easy. Win some of those games early like we did, and then that was the narrative for us. We're going to win the close games.
I think the toughest thing is baseball will always be a game of failure, so you need the Padres to hit better with runners in scoring position. Even if they hit 300 with runners in scoring position, they're still making it out 7 out of 10 times. You can't let those failures instantly remind you of what happened last year. Just because it's going to happen again. You're going to have failures throughout the season in clutch situations.
If they leave runners on in the 6th and 7th innings of game 1, everyone in San Diego is
but they're going to.
How does it not creep in?
But they're going to. It's baseball.
If they go 0-3 in one-run games to start the season, if they can't win more than 2 in a row, it's going to creep
April,
in.
Yeah.
I mean, even in a 5-run rally, unless it ends with a home run to clear the bases every single time, you're always eventually leaving guys out there. So it always happens. You can't let it then remind you, here we go again, because it's gonna easily go down that path. Mentioned the minor leagues. Mike Shildt spent a lot of time the last couple of years, especially with some of these AA guys who've been coming up and learning personally the Padres minor league system. Andy and Elston about his knowledge and what he's seen in the Padres farm system.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question. I think there's a fair amount of them. Andy, I hesitate to really start to list them because the good news for the Padre organization and our fan base is, there's a it's a good system, that's, talk about going deep, that we have some guys that are coming and getting to us pretty quickly, some more than others, so I hate to hesitate timeline, and then there's a group behind them, so, it's a good system that's starting to get some guys that are going to graduate to the big league level. Big league camp will be announced at some point relatively soon, I would imagine, next month or so. I'm not sure the timeline of that, but that'll give an indication of who some of these guys are. I think, listen, I don't, it's hard to, excuse me, really mention any names, but the good news is there are guys on both sides of the ball, the position player and the pitching side that are getting there, and, that the art to it is making sure that they're ready. I know the group's hungry and excited about the opportunity, and in some cases, I think there's guys that are going to be ready and also not rushing them too quickly. So, there are going to be opportunities for guys in spring training to see what they can do, and I think there's going to be opportunities on the roster for guys to get a chance to get some innings maybe, and then also get some at-bats.
That was an A.J. Preller answer.
It was.
Kind of talked around a bit in circles without anything specific, using those minor leaguers right away. Yeah, some guys may come up and some guys may not, and some guys may be fast and some guys may be slow. Didn't give us a lot of specific insight on the minor leagues, but he certainly is optimistic, as probably most managers are, about their minor league systems at this point.
No,
All right.
no doubt.
Finally, on finding an edge, basically, like, what is the edge that the Padres are going to look for here in 2024?
Well, it definitely helps. We're always looking for an edge. It's competition. We're looking to take everything that our opponent, has, and then internally look to give away nothing. That's for me the ultimate description of competition. And so there's a lot of different ways you're able to do that. And the analytic view of it, we call it our research development department, who is really tremendous. I really like the group a lot. And it's using that as a tool. And the good news is I love to organizational philosophy of a very holistic way of approaching it. And, we just want to make sure we use all of our resources because we have a lot of them, and we have a lot of really quality baseball people in a lot of different departments, our pro scouting, our research development, of course, our staff, our medical, our strength conditioning, sports science. And these are all wonderful departments that we are very, very blessed to have that do a really good job. And really the key to it is creating a sweet spot where it works in unison. We're able to take the best of all of it. We're able to create clarity for our individual players and our collective team into how we're going to use it all. Because again, the great news is we have a lot of it. But the wonderful challenge is how to put it all together and make it, like I say, simple and actionable and individual, because each guy likes different things and likes to operate with different way of thinking. So, that's another part of partnering with the player. But, that's for me, the biggest part of the job is managing all that and making sure, the left and the right knows what's going, so we can create, again, that sweet spot to allow us to compete the best way possible.
That's the second time they've used holistic, Ben.
I like that word.
This is a new buzzword for the San Diego Padres, holistic.
And one thing I learned about Mike Shildt in reading the piece in the UT, which applies to that, finding an edge mentality, is that Shildt has a history when he was manager in the minor leagues with the Cardinals. He likes to exploit opponents' weaknesses. Ooh. He is very aggressive when, I think Kevin Acee wrote, if an opposing pitcher is known to not hold runners well, he will attack. Not just the speedsters, but he wants everyone. We are running on this guy. If a team doesn't do something well, like you got a weak arm in right field, you're going to go first to third a ton. They are going to look for every weakness that they can find.
I feel like every manager should do this.
Yeah.
all the time.
But it requires, and this requires being open to that information that he calls it the research and development team gives you, the analytics that can offer an insight into areas where you might have an advantage over other teams, and then go ahead and use that. And, Shildt has been described as very intelligent. He is very aware of what's going on at all times during the game. He will see these things, and he will take strategies that will help his team exploit areas where he thinks that they can take advantage of during games.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is something every manager should be doing at a minimum. I'm interested to find out what did he call them in his press conference? His non-negotiables. That's what I want to ask him at spring training.
I think it's kind of similar to that list.
Probably that
list of 4, throw strikes, execute offensively, make those routine defensive plays, play together. I think those are kind of his non-negotiables.
I love
maybe
that.
a few more.
I like having that. I mean, that's good to have for anybody.
All right, good job, Annie and Elston, on your first interview with Mike Shildt.
Knocked it out.
You will have more Annie and Elston coming up in just over an hour. First, though, we'll be joined by our friend AJ Cassavell from MLB.com, covering the San Diego Padres, writing about the situation at first base with Jake Cronenworth and more. That is coming up next. Last hour of the week here. Ben Woods, the 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back. So next week, we'll be on Tuesday through Friday from the Peoria Sports Complex, and we will have tons of Padres alums and anyone else who's filtering in at fantasy camp. So lots of guests. Opposite of this week, where we have been light on the guests. Mm-hmm. In fact, I believe the entire total of Ben and Wood's guests this week amount to Amy Trask, we had on Tuesday, and AJ Cassavell, who joins us right now.
Was
Correct?
Welsh Fryer last week?
Yeah, that was last week. So AJ, our second guest of the week from MLB.com covering the Padres, joins us right now here on 97.3 The Fan. Hello, AJ. It's good to have someone else on the program for a change.
That makes me a top 2 guest of the week.
Yes, it does.
That's exactly right. And what Ben is saying is he wants to just wind you up and let you go. That's exactly what he wants you to do right now. No short answers. Let it flow.
You guys are working hard. I get it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, read your piece about Cronenworth yesterday. Want to get into that. Want to get into a lot of stuff with you. But I wanted to start with kind of a general question, AJ. And it's one we've been getting a lot. What is your opinion, your perception on what the Padres are, why they're not really open and vocal right now about payroll, the direction of the team? Do you get the sense that it's a bit topsy-turvy right now, or are we all just panicking for no reason?
I mean, I think maybe panic. There's definitely reason for concern, I think, given how many holes there are in the roster and given how many things kind of need to be filled out and the questions about the payroll. I think the panic may be a bit excessive given that it's early January and there's time for things to happen and things will settle and you'll figure some stuff out. But I think maybe some of the lack of clarity is what's bothering people on that front. But it's I don't know. The next couple of weeks, the Padres clearly have a lot of work to do. I think I kind of understand, depending on what happens next, I kind of understand why you would slow play this kind of market because a lot of teams have, and there still are a lot of things available to be done. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this thing settles because for me, it's just never wise to panic until the complete picture's there, until you've seen kind of where the offseason settles. There's definitely cause for concern in terms of some of the guys that lost, obviously, and whatnot, but I think there's also time for this thing to come together.
I don't think anyone disagrees that outfield is the primary concern at this point. It's pretty much unanimous. That's the biggest issue. But beyond that, AJ, do you feel like we've heard another starting pitcher? Is it the first base situation, the designated hitter? Where beyond outfield do you think the Padres are in most need of doing something here this offseason?
Maybe all of the above that you mentioned, but in most need, I would say a starting pitcher, just because that's probably more important and harder to find than a bat that you can stick at first base or DH. So that's where I think I would put my focus. No one's paying me to do that, but I would guess that the Padres understand that starting pitching is kind of what carries you to where they want to get to. And they have, I think, 3 solid options at the front of the rotation. They have some solid options toward the back who could kind of compete for those last couple spots. But we know how rotations work. We know how injuries work. We know kind of how important it is to have all that depth. And AJ Preller says it all the time, how important it is to have that rotation depth. And so I would be borderline stunned if they didn't add to their rotation mix at some point before the end of the offseason. I don't know how they do that. I don't know whether it's a trade for a bigger name. I don't know whether it's a signing of just kind of a filler guy for the 4th spot in the rotation. Maybe they try and find that value add like they got with Lugo or Waka last year. But that's where I would put kind of my attention, and then after outfield, and then probably some of the other things you mentioned, first base, DH. I mean, you're still going to have to find a way to acquire those guys, whether it be through free agency or a trade. But those guys, I think, are easier to find than a certifiable rotation guy.
Talking to AJ Cassavell here on Ben and Woods this morning. We had Kyle Glazer on last week, and he basically called 2024 a transition year for the San Diego Padres. I don't know that fans want to hear that. Look, I said yesterday, too, it's been an interesting offseason in that interesting means awful. It's been terrible. Losing Peter Seidler, trading Juan Soto, getting a nice return back for him. The transition year for the San Diego Padres, it would really depend AJ, on some of these young players coming up, the Marcys, all the guys that we have, I think, an unrealistic expectation of right now, even maybe Jackson Merrill. Out of what you're hearing or what you've heard, do you reckon that any of those guys are going to make an impact on this big league club this season?
I think they're going to be given the shot to make an impact. I think if you look at the roster the way it's currently constructed, those guys probably occupy a few of the 26-man opening day roster spots. I don't think the Padres want to go into the season with that as their plan. They don't want to be planning for these guys to make an impact. They would like to kind of fill out their roster, maybe sign a couple fringe guys that these guys in the minor leagues, Marcy, Merrill, whoever, Paulie, all those guys can compete for their spot on the big league roster. And if they earn it and push one of those guys out of a big league spot, then probably all the better for the Padres because they think pretty highly of some of these younger guys. So, yeah, I do think they will make an impact this season, but I think they're going to have to earn the right to make that impact. That's kind of what I've gathered from where the Padres are going with this group of young guys. I don't know which of them are ready. I think the Padres, in some respects, don't know which of them are going to be ready at the end of spring training, which of them might be ready to make an impact. So the prudent thing to do is fill out a roster that leaves some chance for those guys to win big league jobs, but where you're not counting on them to do so.
AJ, do you anticipate any other of the free agents that the Padres let, go to free agency? And, Blake Snell being the biggest, but there's also guys like Garrett Cooper, Gary Sanchez, who were on the team last year. Any of them possibly still coming back this year?
Profar.
Yeah, I think some of those, Snell and Hader are in their own category. I think those are obviously unlikely for reasons that we've discussed. But with Cooper and Profar filled needs, and if they're willing to return on what I guess the team would deem friendly contracts, I can see the Padres doing that just because they are looking for those first base, DH, versatile. I know Profar can play a bunch of different spots. Those aren't going to be the impact additions that I think the Padres maybe still need to make this offseason to fill out their roster, but they're gonna help. Like you said, I wrote about the first base situation yesterday, and I wasn't advocating trading Jake Cronenworth at all, but I think you need a first baseman because Jake Cronenworth's truest value is as a second baseman, and I don't know if you can rely on the entire infield remaining healthy all season long. So if you sign a first baseman and he ends up DHing at the start of the year, well, chances are he'll be playing some first base, and the Padres will be reshuffling their infield at some point. Obviously, you hope that doesn't happen, but you need to prepare for it. The other name you mentioned, Gary Sanchez, I know the Padres had interest in bringing him back before they traded for Kyle Higashioka. I don't know if that interest would still be there. I think it waned in the aftermath of that. With Sanchez, it's just interesting because the Padres clearly wanted to go out and find a catcher to complement Luis Campusano, and I think they wanted to find someone with maybe 1 year remaining because they know what they have coming in Ethan Salas. And so Kyle Higashioka kind of fits the trajectory behind the plate for this franchise pretty well because he's a useful guy who can serve as 1B to Campusano's 1A, and eventually you hope that Ethan Salas breaks through and there's a path for him still in the future. So I don't know if the Padres necessarily want to go out and sign a guy for multiple seasons behind the plate, and I would imagine that most of the free agent catchers out there, Gary Sanchez included, would be looking for that.
AJ, talk about value a little bit. We had this discussion a little bit earlier, and it may be an oversimplification on Ben's part, my part too, by saying, listen, Jake Cronenworth, based on in your article and some numbers that you had to back it up, he's way more valuable at second base, right? But Jake Cronenworth signed to a long-term deal. Talk a little bit about building your roster by using that term value. You know what I'm saying, Ben? Maybe you could explain a little better what your point was.
My point was simply,
you got 9 guys.
If Jake's going to be one of your 9 guys, you're trying to put together the best offense and best defense you can with the pieces that you have. It's not Jake's fault they're playing him at first base. He's not a worse player at first base than he is at second base. He's the player that he is, and it's up to the team to figure out the best way to use the guys they actually have on their team.
Yeah, and that's the right way of looking at it, and the Padres just kind of have what they have right now, so they have to figure out how to get by with what you have. I think there is plenty, like I just mentioned earlier, there's plenty of benefit in having that surplus, because if you enter the season with Jake Cronenworth as your first baseman, what you're getting is kind of like an average average hitting first baseman and a guy whose defense can't really shine as much there at second base, whereas if he's playing second, well, he's significantly above average as a hitter based on his career numbers, and his defense is above average as well. So you're getting a lot of value there. If you enter the season with Jake Cronenworth as a first baseman, it still seems somewhat unlikely to me that you end the season with Jake Cronenworth as a first baseman just because of the way injuries work. And we already know going into the season that I know Manny Machado's, the reports have been solid on him, but if he needs to open the year as a DH, well, now you've got Cronenworth at second and Ha-Seong Kim at third and a pretty solid defensive alignment in that regard. I just think that, like you said, you need to get the most value out of the guys that you have, and you're not getting the most value out of Jake Cronenworth at first base. So if the Padres were to be willing to look into a trade, whether it's Cronenworth, whether they'd be willing to trade Ha-Seong Kim, I think there's a reason to do that because they're not getting the most value they can out of those guys. I also think that you better be careful in doing so because rosters change quickly throughout the course of the season.
It's just funny to me because it's like those numbers are there for everyone to see. They know that. And I'm going to put my best second baseman. Guess where I'm going to play him? I'm going to play him at second base. And I understand that there's a need. This is now, I guess, two seasons.
But you are. You're playing your best second baseman at second base. His name just isn't Jake Cronenworth.
It's not, yeah, well, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Ha-Seong Kim's going to be playing third, maybe, potentially.
Yeah. At that point, then Jake is playing second.
So it goes back to roster construction and having too many at one position.
All of this comes back to roster construction.
Boy,
self-inflicted.
We were all
self-inflicted.
We were all sold on that 4 shortstops in the infield last year, weren't we? With the new shift rules, AJ, boy, we got egg on our face now.
Yeah, I think there's still reason to buy into all that, to believe all that. Jake Cronenworth is an above average defensive first baseman. It's just the numbers he brings offensively, you're not extracting the value that you should. Fernando Tatis Jr. is a shortstop playing right field. You're still extracting a lot of value from him because he is an elite hitter. I don't think not everyone is in that department, but there's value in going with the athletes and going with the shortstops, and I kind of understand where they're coming from there. You just need to kind of see the bigger picture that you better be getting a lot of that value if you're moving guys to corners because that's where it's easier to find someone to sit in there and post a 780 OPS.
Just throw him in left field. We've been saying it for 5 years, babe. 4 years. Throw him in left field. He's an athlete. He'll figure it out. If you have too many shortstops and too many second basemen, take one instead of moving him to first. Get yourself a real
first. They have been really reluctant to move positions. I mean, other than Tatis. But Merrill, it's like we've been waiting for these position changes to come. Jake, they even talked about Ha-Seong Kim in the outfield when he got there. It's and maybe that would have been a mistake, but they do seem like they've been slow on the let's move positions for guys other than Tatis.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. Well, depending on how the roster fills out the rest of this offseason. They're going to say guys are playing certain positions. I am very curious once we get to spring training and the whole roster holes are what they are, who ends up getting those reps in left field that we didn't expect. I'm not going to speculate on it because I don't know anything about it, but I am curious to see what happens there.
Paul just asked me off the air, too. He said, is this all for naught? Are they going to trade Cronenworth? But I'll ask you, AJ, not necessarily are they going to trade Ha-Seong Kim or Jake Cronenworth, but can you even afford to trade anyone left-handed at this point if you're not getting back left-handers? I don't know that I've ever seen a team that was more right-handed. Certainly on a pitching staff, sometimes you don't have lefties, but I don't know that I've ever seen a lineup right now that would be so right-handed, unbalanced as what the Padres would have to put on the field at this moment. It doesn't really matter what position they play. The Padres have to get a couple of lefties in their lineup at some point here.
Yeah, and that's part of the Jake Cronenworth calculation because he's a good lefty hitter, and the Padres don't have many of those. So you're right. It's probably too easy to navigate this lineup with right-handed relievers right now, and the Padres need lefties. You look at the market, just the free agent market. I know the trade market's a little different. There's not as many good lefty hitters available as there are righty hitters. I know that's the way it is every year, but this year it feels kind of particularly lopsided. So I'm not sure where the Padres end up finding that lefty bat or two, but I know they need a lefty bat or two to insert into this lineup. But another aspect of that right now is a lot of these good young prospects that the Padres are looking for forward to make an impact this season, a lot of them are left-handed hitters. So, I mean, I said earlier they shouldn't be counting on those guys to make an impact this season. They should be hoping that they do. Maybe that's part of the calculus, though, is that they have some pretty decent lefty bats at the upper levels of the minors.
And so we wait.
We do.
We wait.
One last thing, because I'm actually excited about the Padres bullpen and what A.J. Preller has put together. What's your evaluation of the moves that he has made with the newcomers from Asia, with the trade that he made with Enyel De Los Santos, with guys coming back like Steven Wilson and Tom Cosgrove and Robert Suarez?
Yep.
To me, that's the makings of a really top bullpen, potentially, even without Josh Hader.
Yeah, you look at what Ruben Niebla and Ben Fritz have done with guys to get the most out of them. I think you can kind of say that it's likelier than not that those guys thrive. I'm in agreement with you. I think this bullpen has the potential to be pretty good. I am just skeptical of the back end. I want to see Robert Suarez do it. I know he was really good in 2022, but last season he had issues and he had injury issues as well. And if he is not your ninth inning guy, I'm not entirely sold on the fact that you can rely on guys that haven't pitched in the big leagues before. I know at one point before the 2022 season, Robert Suarez hadn't done so, but yes, there's a lot of potential for a lot of really, really good middle innings, setup innings out of that group.
A lot of different looks too, different arms that throw at different angles and everything. I mean,
different pitches.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things about Yuki Matsui. He's a lefty who throws splitters, and I don't think there's very many of those in the whole league. I think Chasen Shreve was like the only guy that did that in 2023 at the same clip that Matsui does. So there's a lot of different guys that throw a lot of different pitches and do a lot of different things. If you can manage those guys right and get the right matchups, you have the potential for something really good. I'm just still a little bit concerned about that back end.
You're definitely a top 2 guest this week.
Thank you, buddy.
AJ, congratulations. You nailed it. We'll see you out at spring training, I'd assume, when we're out there next month.
Yep, see you in a couple weeks.
AJ Cassavell, MLB.com, covering the San Diego Padres. AJ, of course, has to be out there for an extended period of time.
Yeah, we're not allowed to be out there for an extended
No, they get tired of us after like 3 days, and then it's like, go home.
Yeah, beat it.
We'll see you opening day.
Yeah, stop stirring the pot.
Please, please get out of our picnic area with all your equipment and waving at everybody as they go by. You're distracting
Trying
us
to do
from all the good
bits and
work.
stuff. Yeah.
They don't like that.
3 days. That's it.
We got some big
go home.
bit ideas.
It's a huge bit idea
for this year.
It's going to be great, is it?
We just won't tell them.
What do you think about Luis Arias, Ben? Name that's apparently the Marlins are throwing everyone out there. Everyone's available right now. He can play first. He's played some games at first base. Can hit like a madman. Left-handed.
It's fun to watch.
It's really fun to watch. What does it cost you?
I hate making the Tony Gwynn comparison, but the bat, just the way he puts the ball all over the place all the time.
The ball is on the bat.
Not a ton of power, obviously, and I know that's not the game anymore, but dang, he's fun to watch.
Yeah, they're entertaining offers. Interesting. All right, something to watch.
Come back. It's Ben and Woods. 93 The Fan. Don't go away.
93 The Fan. What is the matter with you again?
It's Friday. It's Friday.
97.3 The Fan.
Woodsy has just seized that finish line, and you are ready to get there and head to fantasy camp.
Yeah.
Thanks again to AJ Cassavell from MLB.com. Joining us in our last segment. I've been staring over your head a lot this morning.
You have.
They had like an entire 30-minute Brian Dutcher special on CBS Sports Network.
You were salivating.
Like Seth Davis was at his house and sitting in his kitchen and, talking over coffee.
It's
and then they
something
took
that
the
you would
whole
expect
team
to see for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, they took the whole team to the beach. I'm going, how long is this show? It's like the Brian Dutcher hour here on CBS Sports Network up there. And good. More attention for the San Diego State basketball program, which is fantastic.
Is that why they don't give us people? They don't like that drop, maybe?
The Dutcher at the dentist?
I don't think so. If that's the case, you're very sensitive.
I don't know.
Well, I think they don't have time when they're setting him up for what is obviously like a 12-hour shoot with
2-day shoot.
Seth Davis. They went to the beach with the
Seth
team.
Davis is a much bigger name than we are. Let's be honest. Guys.
That's true. And in college basketball, he's definitely one of the top names. Yesterday wasn't necessarily a great day though for the San Diego State Aztecs basketball team. They did not play, but one of the teams that considered their signature win of the season, Gonzaga, lost again. They lost to Santa Clara last night. Now, it was on the road, and Steve Nash was there. He came back for the game and was
Did he
sitting
play?
courtside. He didn't play, though. And they lost at the end by 1 point, and almost certainly they will drop out of the top 25. Metrics will take a hit as well, and I don't think they'll drop out of the top 70 in the net, so it should stay a quad 1 win for San Diego State. But the worse Gonzaga does, obviously, the less prestigious that signature win gets for San Diego State. So, the weird world of college basketball, as soon as you beat a team, you become their biggest fan.
Yeah.
And you want them to do as well as possible.
College football, too.
Grand Canyon, let's go, win some games here. You want to make sure the teams that beat you do well also, so it's not, it doesn't hurt you as much in the metrics at the end of the year. And a Gonzaga loss, obviously not a great thing for San Diego State.
When we had all that hubbub about them staying in the rankings after we beat them, I saw that it was like 140-something weeks in a row that they had stayed in the top 25.
Yeah, that'll be over.
So that is almost certainly going to be done now.
And speaking of, stinky college basketball. Did you see UCLA Utah yesterday?
No.
90-44.
Woods, tell us all about.
You know that.
The Bruins are atrocious. I mean, they are atrocious. Well, you remember when San Diego State, Paulie, when you went to San Diego State, they would say the Aztecs program on a rise, and they're getting close to the premier program on the West Coast, but they weren't as good as UCLA. They have passed UCLA by leaps and bounds now as the top program.
It's pretty wild to
in
think
California.
about, right? Yeah.
To think where the Aztecs were 25 years ago before Steve Fisher got here.
Not just California. Screw Gonzaga. We are the team on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And
That's
where
fair.
they
That's
were
fair to
25
say.
years ago.
That's not a homer take.
They were an embarrassing basketball program that played in front of a couple of hundred people in a gym on campus at Peterson Gym, and they went winless in conference play, and they were the utter abomination of college basketball. And if you would have said in 25 years, not only will you be talking about them compared to UCLA, it really won't be much of a comparison. Right. The Aztecs will be so far and away better than UCLA in basketball and so dominant that no one in California can even come close to San Diego State basketball. I would have thought you were the most insane person I have ever talked to. There's no way San Diego State basketball is ever going to come close to UCLA in college hoops. And now UCLA dreams of doing what San Diego State can do.
How are my beloved Loyola Chicago Ramblers?
They're mediocre.
Right. So, you talk about a team that was on the rise, and now back to when I was there.
Butler, mediocre.
When I was at Loyola, we went to one basketball game my entire tenure there. One. Walked in, there were 19 people there. We watched 5 minutes, and we walked out the door. And then, they burst on the scene, Final Four appearance, Sister Jean, the whole bit, and now back to
Florida Gulf
obscurity.
Coast, mediocre again. It's hard. It's very hard to even have that one spike in your program. It's much harder to sustain it, which is what Brian Dutcher and Steve Fisher have done. Sustained year after year. And I will say Gonzaga has also sustained it for the most part.
Sure.
They have been year after year.
I'm not saying they're bad.
A really good program and have been able to keep it up there after they burst onto the scene, obviously a little bit before San Diego State did, and got some national attention. They've done a good job, but this year they're definitely a down year for Gonzaga for sure, and you just don't want them to fall too far in the metrics because you want that win to still look pretty good when it comes to selection time and selection Sunday, that you want that to still look like a good win at Gonzaga.
10-6 this year, my beloved Ramblers. 10-6, 2-1 in conference. Don't ask me what conference. I have no idea.
Didn't they move up to like the
know.
A10 or something
no
at some
idea.
point? I don't know.
No idea.
All right, Paulie's got some headlines in the Reindl Report, things Ben likes, and then you guys can make your way to Arizona for fantasy camp.
Yeah,
Coming
buddy.
up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Who's driving on this journey of yours?
I am.
You're the driver.
I'm the driver.
All the way? Or
all
does
the
Paul
way.
take a shift at all so you can take a little nap at some point?
I do it all the whole time.
Do you let anyone drive your car ever?
I like to drive.
I don't really let anyone else drive.
I like to drive. I feel more in control.
I would drive if you needed it.
Yeah, he would. I like to take care of my baby over there. Make sure he's
Now, are you
going to
nap? Or are you going to stay up so you
He'll stay
can
up.
converse
I stay
with
up.
the
Yeah,
Woods?
we stay up. We shoot. Man, we have a
party.
great time. We party. We have a great time.
Party in the car?
Yeah, I mean, like, not like with illicit substances or anything. We're not passing a CD case back and forth.
There are other people with you partying?
No,
or?
we just we listen to like funny bits and we come up with funny bits and we do a lot of.
So it's a work. You can write it off. This is work time.
Oh yeah. I just got the question though on Twitter. How does Hannah feel about your fantasy camp experience? And you know what she said? Quote. She said, "Have a great time. Don't expect a parade when you get home." And I said, well, I don't expect.
But what if you win fantasy camp? Don't you think there should be a parade to celebrate the title?
She just,
Absolutely. We're getting rings.
It's very, this whole scene is very businesslike. When I go away, I won't call her a bunch. I will let the game come to me. It's almost like you're gone, you're out of sight, out of mind. I don't need an update on how you did. I don't need a bunch of phone calls and stuff. I'll text her once a day and say, how are the kids? Please FaceTime me later. Maybe that FaceTime comes. Maybe it doesn't.
The real challenge is when your significant other is gone for some time and you've been handling, family, whatever, at home. When they get back, trying to contain yourself from throwing it back in their face. Because then
that's the tough part.
That's not fair because you're going to want to go on vacation at some point. And the last thing you want is the day you get back to have it, well, you just went on vacation. So you have to hold it in when they're gone and they come back. It's like, nope, now we're back to normal. Everything's back to normal.
I will tiptoe. Friday when we come back, I will tiptoe in. I will tiptoe my way through the weekend. She told me she's doing something Saturday night. I have the kids. I said, fantastic.
You'll be extra helpful for sure.
Extra helpful. Extra. So it's a delicate dance, Ben. It really, really is. Now, this is a work trip. It's a great fallback for me. Hey, I'm working. It's not like I'm out there just partying. I'm working. I do go a couple days early. Paulie and I like to bond. Or I could drive out Sunday morning. I'm not going to. So quit asking. Yesterday she was putting Taylor in the car.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
She goes, Taylor, get in your seat. He goes, I'm not going to, so quit asking. As he was climbing into his seat. You got to get audio there.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest. So, yeah, the delicate waltz that you have to have when you go do something. It's hard because I enjoy it. And she knows I enjoy it. So it makes it more difficult.
Bathroom breaks on the drive.
Yeah. Oh, it's me. I pee every 30 minutes or so. We take our sweet time.
That's what I'm wondering.
Paulie and I are going to the outlet mall.
Okay.
We're going to
That's
lunch.
What you wouldn't want to drive with me. I'm like, let's pop through.
We don't usually stop at the outlets.
No, but we are today.
But
Last time you stopped at the center of the earth.
Remember that? The best.
Yeah, that's true.
In deep eastern California before the Arizona border. I thought you must be the most insane people.
We'll gun it to Yuma.
Yep.
Then we'll stop in Gila Bend.
Yep.
And then we're almost there.
Then I always have to pee in Gila Bend. Always.
We
leave Yuma and I'm like, I gotta go.
I like the
miles.
Dateland one, but it's always so crowded there.
Crowded.
I once had to go to the bathroom there. Line was too long, and I had to get back in the car and drive another 20 miles to get to the Chevron in Aztec.
No, we'll jam some tunes. We'll chit-chat about the show. We'll chit-chat about some ideas. It's really we always have fun doing this.
All right, let's check traffic, and then Paulie's got a Reindl Report, things I like, and we'll hand things over to Annie and Elston coming up next here on The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Tough stuff in the North County, southbound 15 before Via Rancho Parkway. 2-car collision being cleared out of the fast lane, but that's an appetizer for what's up ahead. Right before Rancho Bernardo Road, accident involving several vehicles, including a utility truck. That one has got middle lanes blocked. Also an accident blocking the left lane, southbound 67, right before the 8. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Now, Paul's wife is in the chat.
Yeah, she just texted me. She said, I want a vacation planned by the time you get back.
Stop saying it's for business when you guys literally make that joke all year round. It's not a joke. It's actual.
I mean, I'm sorry. Are we going to be on the air next week?
Yeah. If you need me, you know where I'm at. I'm actually working in broadcasting. I'm sorry that we enjoy this. I really apologize for doing something that
I'll remember
I
that
love.
when you're tootling out 2 hours early to play a game and leaving me to do the show by myself.
I'm so happy you're coming. You have no idea. I love you guys.
All right, we got a story here in college football. Casey Thompson, yesterday, he committed to play for Oklahoma. He's a quarterback. But the reason I saw this story was because, this is going to be his 7th season in college football. Is he related to Stephen Woods? I'm not sure.
Oh,
How many different schools?
This will be his 4th.
4th.
He,
It is very Stephen Woods-like, isn't it?
It is.
He started out at Texas.
Okay.
Then he transferred to Nebraska.
Sap.
Then he went to FAU.
Okay.
Graduated from FAU this past season, but he only played in 3 games, and then he tore his ACL, so he was granted a medical hardship waiver for 1 more year. Now he's headed to Oklahoma.
He's 37 years old. He's out there slinging it around with a bunch of kids.
3 kids.
Yeah, that is incredible. 7 years of eligibility, 4 different teams.
It's pretty wild.
I mean, there's baseball players that live that way.
Yeah.
Once they hit free agency, they're like, I'll take a 1-year deal and I'll play in San Francisco. Then I'll be in Chicago and San Diego. And man, I couldn't do it. I don't think I could do it. As many colleges as I went to.
Nah, it's the new reality of college football. We're only going to see it more and more with the transfer portal and NIL, which apparently there are rules because I thought Florida State got punished for
did.
NIL rule
I thought it was
violations.
the Wild West.
From what I understood, and I couldn't follow this one, they were using NIL to get players to come to school. I thought that's what NIL was, so now I'm totally confused as to what NIL is.
Like saying, if you sign a letter of intent to come play here, we'll give you'll get
this much money. I thought this is what everyone was doing across the country.
As did I. As did I.
Apparently not. I don't know.
All right, in the NBA last night, rough night if you are a fan of the Portland Trail Blazers. Oklahoma City won this one.
Hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to go back to this quarterback real quick. Somebody made this point in the chat. He doesn't have to go to school. He graduated college.
Yeah, you have to go to grad school.
He's in grad school.
Yeah, he would be a graduate student.
Mm-hmm.
And just taking grad
classes. Going after your master's degree. Yeah, you do have to still be in class.
All right.
The Aztecs have had some basketball players.
That still do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
They get there. Yeah.
That I didn't do.
Last night in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat Portland 139 to 77. That is a 62-point win for Oklahoma City. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 31 points, leading the way for OKC. Now, Oklahoma City, they shattered their largest margin of victory record. It was 45 points before that. But just a couple of years ago, back in 2021, the Thunder, they were on the opposite side of that. They lost. It was the NBA's biggest blowout in history. They lost by 73 points to Memphis. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was talking after the game. He said, we remember that moment. We said, this will never happen again. And last night, they were on the other side of that, winning by 62 points over Portland.
The scoreboard actually told you what was going to happen before the game started. The Blazers played poor, and the Thunder played okay, see? I really am driving you out early, am I not?
Maybe just stay home next week.
I am already gone. Holy smokes. That's one of your worst of all time.
That was a bad one.
How long have you been sitting on that?
Yeah, since yesterday.
Poor
POR, Portland,
Yes, I know,
Poor,
I know.
and OKC, Oklahoma City. They played OKC.
Okay, see?
Anyways.
Oh, God bless.
So, just to follow up on a story we talked about yesterday in the Reindl Report, we talked about that AI.
I can hear our ratings going down. I can hear them. I can hear them going down. I can hear it. I can hear them right now.
The turn of the radios. Yeah.
Just right down the crapper. Do you have a toilet flush sounder? Because we need one.
You know what really should be mad? We've already had people for 3 hours and 48 minutes. Anything else in the door really heard it here.
We just blew that for them.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Craig.
Holy crap, Craig, I'm sorry. Sorry. We're supposed to be a good lead-in here, man.
Oh, God.
Poor OKC. Oh, my God. I can hear them going down. I can hear money going out of my account right now. Hey.
Told you yesterday about the George Carlin artificial intelligence special. He has been dead for like 16 years, and AI learned his voice. They did an impression of George Carlin, and they scripted out a 60-minute special on current events.
AI scripted this out.
Yes. It was wild. I listened to a good chunk of it yesterday. It's pretty weird to hear somebody that's been dead for that long, an older legend of comedy, talking about Taylor Swift,
current events,
Donald Trump, whatever.
I'm amazed. Can AI be funny? Like, can it be trained to actually be funny?
You tell me.
This is how the video started. It's with the AI bot kind of explaining what happened.
Hello, my name is Dudesy, and I'm a comedy AI. What you're about to hear is my second hour-long special. Before I get started, I just want to let you know very clearly that what you're about to hear is not George Carlin. It's my impersonation of George Carlin.
You're not
that
a real
I
person.
developed in the exact same way a human impressionist would. I listened to all of George Carlin's material and did my best to imitate his voice, cadence, and attitude, as well as the subject matter I think would have interested him today.
Okay, so it goes on.
Remember Weird Science when they were building the woman and they just were like feeding Playboys into that that thing? So they're just like feeding, just putting pieces of Playboy into that machine.
This is not George Carlin. They make it very clear this is not George Carlin. And this is like, it's creepy. That sounds just like him, and you can make these people say whatever they want. So George Carlin was talking about how in 2024, in this day and age, what is our obsession with deaths, celebrity deaths in particular?
And when you're not thinking about who Taylor Swift is, you're thinking about who's dying. Politicians, musicians, actors, writers, anyone with any fame at all. It's a perpetual death watch, waiting to post a favorite quote from the recently deceased, or maybe a picture with them while they were alive, or an anecdote about an interaction with them. True. It's a touching personal tribute to a person you never knew. Wow. So please stop it. Can we keep that to friends and family? Zuck, if you're listening, this would be a great new feature.
Doesn't sound like
for
him that
Instagram.
much to me.
Every
right now.
user gets to set a list of approved people who can post about you after you're dead. If you ain't on that list, you got to sit out of the performative grief competition this time. I bet that would cut the carbon footprint in half. You could single-handedly stop global warming.
It's not funny. It's not good.
It's not that far off, though. The cadence
It doesn't sound
somewhat
right. It doesn't sound right to me.
Pauly?
It gives me the icks.
You made it. End of the Reindl Report,
Yeah,
end of the
we
week.
did it. Good job. Thank you,
All we
Pauly.
got left is some things that I like, and then we will say goodbye.
I like good, juicy, sweet strawberries.
I like a good marching band. I like a good thin pancake.
I like a Nickelback song or two.
I like a barbecue chicken pizza. I really like those seeds. I like a midnight buffet. I kind of like the smell of soft scrub. I like more of a small derriere. I like cake.
I like Ed Sheeran.
I like both a hamburger and a cheeseburger. I like clocks. I like how I've kind of set up my life. I like grasshopper pie.
Oh, no, I like it creamy.
I like good, firm banana. I like just looking out at the sea. I like eating. I like moist. I like curry.
I like big butts.
I like fried Brussels sprouts. I like more of a firm filling. I like corn.
I like Nordstrom.
I do like musicals.
I like pepperoni. I like nice hotels. I like Nick getting a start today. I like nuts. I like Steph Curry. I like that song.
I like Squirt.
I like sake. I like San Diego State.
I like Straight Up, Paula Abdul.
I like the beef and broccoli. I like to mix it up. I like Science Experiments. I like that song. I like the crispiness of the waffle. I really like cheese. I like the little lunch meat. I like very straight lines. I like cannelloni. I like a well-crafted headline. I like brown sugar. I like maps. I'll say I like Justin Turner.
I like going to golf games. I like diving into chores. I like sugar. I do like Butterfinger. I like blue and silver are not bad colors. I like the time change. I like Major League Baseball's new rule. I like the radio. I like geography. I like the knuckle method. I like Skippy. And I like pie. I like Bob Melvin. I really do. I like Jace Tingler, too. I like this day. I like being right. I still do like movie scores. I like good food. I like maps. I like when interviews can turn into organic conversation.
Right.
I do like a Stouffer's French bread pizza. I like having the wind go through my hair. I think I like shows that the characters have an arc. I like the full lettuce, tomato, onion experience as well. I like those kind of burgers. I like that big overflowing bag of fries. I like those little Smarties rolls. I liked what I saw from Seth Lugo. I liked his competitive fire. I like walking around between the different lands. Steve Kerr, though, I like that. I like living on the coast. I like watching Tigers still. I like the idea of that matchup. I like...
It's just incredible.
It just goes on and
on. It goes on and on. It never ends.
All right, we'll see you Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Love
6
you guys.
a.m. from Fantasy Camp for Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods, Annie and Elston next year on 97.3 The Fan.